I'm supposed to wrestle Brad Armstrong there.
You're on live, Rip.
We're on live now?
You're on live.
Well, that's great because it's time to be on here.
See what you can do.
Okay. Rip Rogers live, Rip Rogers live. Hey, we got a big day today. We got hours and hours and hours of shit. In case nobody shows up, then we ain't got nothing. So I'll just sit here. Huh? Rip Rogers live marathon on right now. You can see my new beard. I got the beard look, the Donald Trump hair look, the Back to the Future Doc look. Yeah, I dyed my beard white so I would look older and more mature. So looking up here, goddamn Buckshot Kid's here. Frank Pickleberry's here. He's even talking sexy to Buckshot, so they might have something going. Medium 5, he's here. He's probably did a lot of perversion things last night, but only just allegedly though. So what the fuck, right? So Lilas is down trying to do something. I come in conveniently late. I got to pee, got some coffee here. Forgot to get my Coke, need something to eat, but I guess Lilas is going to take care of everything since he's the father of the year, husband of the year, chopper of the year. Oh yeah, I put a big thing on Twitter a while ago talking about the hardest choppers. The hardest choppers I ever got in the ring with was Wahoo McDaniel, Ronnie Garvin, Nightmare Danny Davis, Flash Flanagan, Trailer Park Trash, and good old Von Lilas. So Von Lilas is sort of like, he reminds me of Gunther, except I think Lilas is 6'5". I don't know how tall Gunther is. Gunther used to be fat. Now he's skinny. Now he's got abs and everything. But Von Lilas is sort of like our Gunther right here. So he's got the big old hands. If he chops you, he'll chop the shit out of you. So later on in the show, about one, let's see, it's noon now, about 1 o'clock, the legend Les Thatcher is supposed to come in. Now Les was always, he started wrestling, he's about 19, so he's 80-some years old. So me and him was arguing about what time I told him, and I don't think I could remember, and I think he remembered, and I didn't remember. So what the hell, right? I'm busy just being immature. I got my Dave Marquez shirt on. He's going to be a guest later on in the show, so we'll have Les coming in. Then the inevitable Dave Marquez is going to come in. And Dave's been in the business, I don't know how long, producing TV all over the place. Used to be with the NWA, he's out in California now, but he was doing the Derby City Wrestling, the Memphis Wrestling. I think it was the Phoenix Wrestling or whatever, the Wrestling. And I can't wait him to get on the show to have him entertain you. And I can sit here and probably eat something, go to the bathroom, and tell jokes that ain't funny and act like I'm getting myself over, but I'm not.
It's your show, man.
Yeah, Lilas finally come in. He was making my coffee, hanging and banging down in the gym downstairs. We got the studio lights on. I am pretty debonair looking.
Got a cough I can't get rid of.
Pretty debonair looking. I got the microphone here, and I haven't looked over at you because you're not there.
Yeah, look at the camera, man. Talk to the people.
Oh, the camera. Talk to the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need to look at me.
I didn't look at you. I didn't went to. Okay, but you got your kayfabe hat on. You got your Rip Rogers T-shirt on, which you can get that.
Yeah, this is the Wrestling with Rip Rogers.
Oh, this is wrestling. Wrestling with Rip Rogers. Yeah, I got the Derby City thing on. I was going to bring 3 T-shirts to change, but I've had this one on all week anyway, so I thought I'd just keep it on for 3 more hours. What the hell, right?
You always promote everything but our show.
Well, I didn't want to, what the hell, right?
Oh, shoot.
What?
Struggling here.
No, I don't know. You're just putting the big arm up there. I know what you're doing.
It's rough doing everything.
And it's rough being 6'5".
You can see the bottom of it though down there. See that?
Rip.
I got it aimed down so you could finally.
I could do what?
See you a little bit.
Oh, you're trying to get
you over here on the camera, man.
You want a younger, more attractive man, though. I know that.
Get you sitting up. You could see you in the last episode we did.
You could?
Yeah.
First time. I can't. The arm's over here. Get the arm over here. Arm's looking above average, so not bad when you're almost 70. If I make 70, that'll be the big milestone. That's people start croaking, so what the hell, right?
I think you'll be fine. You're gonna be like my grandpa Raymond.
Raymond.
Never gonna leave. You're gonna be one of those guys that we just can't get rid of.
How long was
80
Randy?
something. I don't
80
know.
something. Yeah. Well, so I'm thinking 80.
Here we go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We'll get rid of that.
All right. We got
Probably-
anybody in the chat? Have you answered any chat questions yet, Riv? Anybody in there?
I can't see a chat question. Okay.
Buckshot Kid in the house. He's in green. Frank's Pickle Barrel Ass is in the house. He's green. Medium 5.
Yeah,
in green, he's in the house.
He's got some kind of perversion. Medium does. Uh-huh.
Jason Adare, he's reporting in. He said, "Good to see you, Jason." Frank's got a lot of cuss words in there, dropping the F-bombs a lot. He likes
That's
the.
Okay.
He said you're looking like Kenny Rogers today.
It took a fine time to leave me, Lucille.
Man, you're a good singer.
No, I got the cough like you do.
Mike Myers, he's in the house. Hello, Rip from Southern Illinois, baby.
Oh, Southern Illinois, baby. We're going to be, and pretty soon we're going to be talking with Herb Simmons from the Southern Illinois Wrestling Promotions, St. Louis, etc. So Southern Illinois will be coming back. We used to have an ICW. We used to have 4 TVs in Southern Illinois. We had the one in Marion. We had the one in WSIL, Harrisburg, Illinois. So we run up and down all the way from down to Paducah, Kentucky, go all the way up to Springfield, Champaign, Urbana up there. So that was real good for us. Southern Indiana fans, they were great because they didn't get that much wrestling on TV. So we was big time when we come in there.
Southern Indiana or Southern Illinois?
Southern Illinois, excuse me.
Frank's Pickleberry Ass said, favorite show of the week. Love the stories and history of your business. Thank you for sharing.
Do I owe Frank money or something?
Maybe.
I probably do.
Digging the beard. Buckshot Kid in the house. I think maybe I said that already. I can't remember.
Yeah, you're just repeating it because he's got a.
He's in there again.
When we don't know nothing, he got to pull. He'll pull it out.
Clayton in the chat. Stealing Big Al's. Good morning, gentlemen. Come on, Clayton. You got to get your own shit there. That's a Big Al's line. Or does he just say morning, gentlemen?
Usually just says gentlemen.
Oh, he does?
Gentlemen.
I apologize, Clayton. You're good.
Gentlemen. Okay.
You're good. You can say that then.
Jason Adair says, I live a town over from Paducah. As Crybaby ever would say, who was from Paducah, Kentucky. And Crybaby was our ICW referee, and he was short, and he was cross-eyed, and he would say Paducah. So Paducah became Paducah. But Paducah was a great wrestling town. That WSIL TV was on fire, baby.
On fire?
Mm-hmm.
Rip just spilled his coffee
down my shirt, into my fanny pack. What the hell, right?
Stephen Key says more Rip singing. They want more of karaoke with Rip Rogers. Maybe we'll do that on Thursday nights.
Well, we could do. Yeah.
We can change that to karaoke
with Rip Rogers. Okay.
Be big time. Mike Myers said, I grew up in Harrisburg. Watched Friday nights on WSIL.
That was the one I couldn't think of a while ago.
Saw the shows at Harrisburg High School. Rip was there. Wow.
Harrisburg High School. That was one time I had orange. I had yellow trunks on. I took a body slam. I was getting in bodybuilding contest, and I was drinking milk of magnesia to make you take a shit and everything. So I got slammed, and all of a sudden the big brown spot come out in the yellow tights. So that was lovely. So that was when I started packing. That was it happened right there in Harrisburg, Illinois.
Wow.
At the high school. Got slammed.
Mike Myers was there probably.
He probably was. Shit my pants, and that started the packing legacy, and I'm packed even today.
Great.
Because you never know when you're going to get slammed, and you got yellow trunks on. You don't want the to hit out there.
Hey, we got our first question in the house.
All right.
Comes from a repeat question that you couldn't answer because you were at.
I probably started with one thing and veered off.
No, you were at home when we were trying to do it when I was at the King's house, and you kept getting phone calls and text, and then you would talk 100 miles an hour when you were.
Well, there's probably a lot of hot women on here.
You couldn't hear you. Remember, you'd get a text in, and then your phone would go down.
Okay, the phone will go down.
Buckshot Kid said 2 weeks ago, I asked about the difference between the cable rope and old rope, but a phone call muted you.
Okay. Cable rope. I love cable rope. Cable rope is good. You can, but you really got to loosen it. Or if you tie yourself into it, you could rip a bicep or really get hurt. The ropes, they're like boring and they sag a whole lot. So I always like the cable ropes, but then the cable ropes will snap And then that's happened a couple times. I took a bump on the floor and you almost kill yourself, but that's part of wrestling. Then in the ropes, they'll become frayed into turnbuckles, and it's sort of like hidden. And the ring crew guys are mad at you that they might gimmick it a little tight. So if you hit it real hard, then you'll bust a thing. And then the whole ring can go down, which has happened a lot of times. You'd have to wrestle a match with 1 rope, 2 ropes, 3 ropes, sometimes no ropes. You just have to you got to know what the hell's going on around there. And I guess the old guys, they all used to have shitty rings, so they all knew self-preservation in there. But today's the best rings I ever worked in was the ones in Japan. Man, you could come off the top, dropping out, you wouldn't even feel nothing. They felt so good.
Man, they always look so hard watching. I always think anyway.
But some of the hardest rings was like Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles, North Sydney. They had a permanent ring there in the Maritimes. You'd take a slam. I'd take a slam. Then I'd go, oh, it hurt so bad you couldn't sell it. And I'd just take my finger up and put it up in the air like that. And the baby face was just laughing. I'd oversell it. Then he'd pick me up and slam me again. And there the finger would come again.
So when OVW moved to the new big building in Louisville, and they had the big ring that WWE sent down, do you know what those ropes were? Were those ropes? Ropes? Those were
no.
They weren't?
I don't think so. I think they had to. I think they might have sent it down.
I thought those were the ones that were like you could see them like twined, almost like braided.
Yeah, maybe they
were.
Isn't
that what ropes look like?
But I've been in some that were about that thick. Oh, they're disgusting.
Well, they hurt like hell. When we'd have to run the ropes before, I would have bruises all over my lower back and upper.
But a lot of times that was from the cable ropes. They were like steel when you had like a garden hose over it. It seemed like, and when guys would hit them real hard. See, I learned to hit the ropes in a working way.
Yeah, I apparently didn't. But you made us run fast, and then it's hard to do it a working way when you got the other guy running 100 miles an hour trying to. I don't know.
Oh, you always let the other guy. He's one step ahead of.
Yeah, I did, but it didn't matter.
Well, you know,
I would always try to get in there and run the ropes with girls if possible. I hated running them with like Matt Morgan. He always flew. Beast, Chad Gaspard always tried to kill you in there. Carlito would try to kill you in there. Then all those guys like Jeter and Johnny Nitro and those size of guys would always just run you over.
Yeah, well, they were just, when you're at that size, you're like a defensive back in football. They always have the quickest, the fastest guys that are the defensive backs, and they're like the greatest athletes. So if you can weigh like really 190 to 205 pounds, you're just an ungodly athletic. You look great in there, and you guys be faster than hell. What surprised you is some big guys could really move.
Yeah, Matt Morgan and Chad Gaspard.
And you're going, damn, it was faster than the running backs. Like, they was good.
That was my least favorite part of practice. Every single day, running the ropes, the 2 times through.
Well, hell, if I'd have known that, I'd have made you I'd have made you do it about 10 times a day to make it your strength. Hell yeah.
I don't need that to be my strength, I don't think.
Well, when you started,
because then I'd get in a match and you'd be like, "Why are you ever doing the rope? You should never." And I would never run the ropes during an actual match. So,
well, the taller you are, you shouldn't run the ropes because it's not a strength.
Visvec says, "Going to be a great few hours here. Quick question: does Rip remember the ever dangerous James boys?"
The ever dangerous James boys.
It says Fist was a promo joke for a few.
The James boys? Are you talking about Road
Casey
Dog?
James? Or
who
are you talking about, Visvex? Casey James down at OVW time or Road Dog? We don't know the ever dangerous James boys, or at least not yet. We don't. Saw Rip after the show walking to his car. He was limping. I hid behind a brick column because he was a bad guy.
Oh, well, probably my goddamn left knee was killing me. Had knee surgery on it years and years and years ago, and it's always been the bad left knee. Because,
You were young at the prime of life back then, Rip.
well, I had a knee surgery when I was 22, so what the hell, right?
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like right now, my left knee looks twice as big as my other knee. It's never stopped hurting. Such is life. And I got it hurt working in it was either Allentown or the Philadelphia Arena against Tanaka and Fuji. Yeah. All I did was get up and my knee exploded.
Wow.
The next day, BB Coleman took me to that one town where I had to ride in and the police had to get me out of the building. And all of a sudden I was BB Coleman Jr. and on crutches. And I was sort of like fighting my way out of the building, but Coleman liked that. It was cool. BB Coleman Jr. That was the only time I was that.
I wrestled Pat Tanaka once, man, and I just marked out so much. So I used to watch him on Memphis. Him and Paul Diamond were together. And then they were the what was that tag team they were then? Like in the AWA or something.
When Diamond Dallas Page was their manager?
No.
Okay, he used to be their manager, and he was like a foot taller than them.
Yeah, that was that tag team, I think, in the God, what were they called? The Orient, or were they the Orient Express?
Well, they could have been because Paul Diamond wore a hood sometimes. See, Pat Tanaka's dad was Duke Kiyomoka, and he was one of the owners of Championship Wrestling from Florida with Hiro Matsuda, where Hogan broke in, and that was Eddie Graham's old.
Oh, man. Bad Company.
Bad Company.
Yeah.
That was
just Paul Diamond.
Yeah, Paul Diamond was Tom Borick. He was a Canadian.
Yeah.
And then Pat Tanaka was a really good worker, a little smaller guy, but he understood the business because his dad and then his brother refereed down in Tampa when I was there. So
I remember when Paul Diamond went into Memphis and he was with like Joe LeDuc was befriending him because they were both from Canada or whatever.
Yeah.
But then something happened. I can't remember if it was a battle royal or something. And Joe LeDuc turned on him. And I was like, so devastated for
God, I was scared
for
to death.
Paul Diamond.
I was always scared to death of Joe LeDuc.
Well, sure. Yeah. He was.
I mean, he wasn't acting crazy. That was just Joe. I mean, we go to the Waffle House and I never seen anybody eat so much food. And he had a great cruiser van to go to towns, and he had the big fans in there, and he had the big shirt off and everything, head gigged. He'd have them, he'd be staring and telling stories, and the monster eyes would just get so big. And I said, Joe, please don't scare me. And he just laughed.
Did you ever wrestle him?
No.
Never, ever. Huh?
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I've been scared to death of him.
Visvex had said about the James gang, indie guys from Indianapolis, knuckle punch promo pick. I don't know. You know anything about that, Rip?
If it is, I can't think of it right now. Is that Casey James or?
I don't think so. No, indie guys from Indianapolis wouldn't be Casey James. Don't be a square peg, says, hey guys. What's up, man? What do you think about small promotions using garden hoses for ropes with a shit ring?
Well, the ring is very important for your promotion. Shitty ring means a shitty match and guys getting hurt. And you really can't afford none of them, so get you a nice ring. I know old buddy of ours, Mike Samples, he's been making cages for the Octagon, and he's been making wrestling rings for years and years and years out of Lawrenceburg, Kentucky.
Mike Samples makes great rings.
Oh, okay. Visvex said, okay, he's on it.
That's where Pat McAfee bought his ring, was Mike Samples.
That's the night he got drunk and all of a sudden.
That is not it. I still would to this day go against that whole story.
Well, he's the one that told it.
I know, and I don't think he's right.
What, that he wasn't drunk?
He bought it with us.
He did?
It was the very first time we went to OVW. Not when we trained him at his house and all that stuff. Remember, years before that, we met at McDonald's in Greenwood.
I remember that.
Me, you, him, and his brother. I drove. We went to OVW in Louisville. I wrestled that night. After the show was over, he got in the ring with me a little bit. on the way back from Louisville to Indianapolis, he kept talking about he wanted to start a wrestling promotion. That's all he kept talking about. Wanted to start a wrestling promotion. Wanted to know where he could get a ring. You told him Mike Samples.
Uh-huh.
I would bet any amount of money in the world, and it goes against totally what Pat McAfee says, that he got on the internet on his phone and either called Samples or ordered it online, one of those two, on the trip back from OVW to Indianapolis.
What was he drinking on the way back?
No.
Okay, but before he said he was drinking a little bit, right?
Yeah, he said it showed up at his house and he didn't remember ordering it.
Well,
he said he probably was just drunk, or he said he was drunk one night and ordered it and didn't remember it.
From listening to like Dusty Rhodes tell a story or Dutch tell a story, I guess if you can just make it a little more flamboyant, it's Pat drinking and doing it. I guess that's a better story.
Well, sure, yeah.
So what the hell? Right?
Way better story, but
okay.
I think he was with us in the car driving back from Louisville.
Yeah, I remember parking the car and waiting at McDonald's there in Greenwood. That was awesome.
Yeah, he just jumps in the car with two strangers in Indianapolis.
He didn't know I was he didn't know I was a child molester, but that was just allegedly, right?
To go to Louisville. Yeah. And then either him or his brother left their Ray-Bans in my car. Is that sunglasses? Yeah, I think I still have them somewhere. I used to wear them, and I always called them the McAfees. I'd say, "Hey, anybody see my McAfees?"
The Ray-Bans?
I found them. It wasn't like right after. They were like down in between, like in the seat.
Now
I found them one day.
Just think if Pat would have found his Ray-Bans, and if Pat would have became a wrestling promoter, he wouldn't be on ESPN nationwide, jacked every day, worth millions and millions and millions. But he'd be a wrestling promoter.
Yeah. Maybe one day he still will. Who knows?
I think he can do what he wants to do.
Rayleigh Wilborn says, hello, Rip and Vaughn. Jeff Scott in the house. Used to be Jeff G, I think. Isn't that the same person?
Jeff.
Did you change your name to Jeff Scott? What'd you do? Get married?
That's Gerhold, right?
Yeah, I think so. Got married and changed his last name, I guess. We got? What are we pointing at?
It says, Rip, did you ever wrestle in southeast Missouri towns like Cape Girardeau, Missouri? We ran there every month at the Cape Arena in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. It got our Southern Illinois TV, and that was a town where Bruiser Brody came in, took a $200 draw from Randy. He says, could you up me a couple money or a little bit of money? Then he left and never wrestled, just as a rib. Yeah.
You know what the important part of that question that you failed to put over, Rip?
No.
First of all, I think it's a new person. And second of all, I believe it's a new person in green. Migrating Coconuts shows up in green today.
Okay, so right away he's a paying customer, right? He's a paying customer, so he gets primo attention.
And you skipped right over that, though. You just skipped right over.
I just talked about it.
I know, but you didn't mention that. Hey, he's a new member at that, and all that stuff.
Okay, that's not my thing.
You got if you're reading through the chat, you got.
Well, I gotta adjust everything.
You got to get it all in there.
Well, I know, but
if you're taking over the chat, you got to also acknowledge.
Yeah, I guess right.
People in green, you can't just half-ass this thing.
Well, wait a minute. I've half it ever since you started this thing.
Well, that's true. But
what the hell, right?
Trying to.
You're throwing me in the water, and I just drown. Like you ribbed me and act like you had to do something technological or whatever earlier, and you're just laughing at me, and I'm struggling going, WSIL in Southern Illinois, man, I think. And crying.
Joe LeDuc with the Blood Oath line on TV. That Saturday terrified me as a kid.
Oh, and he took the axe.
I remember was
that's
the
when
axe.
He took the axe. That's all I could.
Yeah,
that
was in Memphis though.
Yeah, it was Memphis TV.
It was Lance Russell. He was standing up there with. And took that axe
I watched that, and then I used to rib, and I always say, Joe, show me the arm. You know, I was always saying,
still there.
Hell yeah!
Was it really?
Yeah, I think he was a tough bastard.
Yeah. One more from Harrisburg Memories. Did Rip drive a Camaro? In my memory, he and his girl got in a mid-'70s Camaro. That would have been early '80s.
No, I didn't have a Camaro. I had what would happen, my grandmas would always I would always get their used cars. because they would take him to the store and back, and they didn't have any miles on them. So I'd have him about 3-4 years, and then I'd get the other grandma's car, and then somebody would die, a great uncle or whatever, and I'd always get their cars. And then my mom, she finally passed away, and my nephew Eric, he snarfed her car, and I was hot.
Man.
I thought I was entitled to everything.
Why did you let that happen?
Well, all of a sudden it was gone. I said, Jan, I said, hey, what about mom's car? She goes, oh, Eric got it. Of course, he needed a car.
Wow, question.
And he'd been married, got kids now and everything.
He needed a grandma car. Huh?
Yeah, I needed that grandma car that you'd take down to the grocery store and Walmart, and that'd be it.
Man, I remember I got my grandma's car.
Uh-huh.
It was a 1980 Monte Carlo. It had the front seat that was all the way through, not the bucket seats.
Uh-huh.
The front and back seat both went all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Just smelled like smoke so bad. And just always had an ashtray full of cigarettes. Always.
Now, whose car was it?
My mom's mom.
Okay. Yeah.
Raymond's wife.
Yeah,
ex-wife.
Raymond's wife, Carol's mom.
Correct. Your almost wife's mom. Almost your mother-in-law. I'm talking
almost,
about your almost
my mother-in-law. That could have stopped the marriage right there.
Yeah.
With that was a red flag. At least Carol didn't smoke. Of course, she shot basketball better than me, and she could run faster than me, and she had a better arm than me, and she could feel better than me. And I ain't gonna put her over, poop on her.
Any good stories of Hot Rod Roddy Piper?
Yeah, Roddy Piper. We're in Portland, Oregon, wrestling, so we got to stare down in the middle of the ring. And all of a sudden we're nose to nose, and he sticks out his tongue. It's got a piece of paper taped to his lip. It says, "Fuck you."
Are you serious?
Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and I says, he's cracking me, and all of a sudden he starts doing it real quick, like, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you." So I can't keep from laughing. He says, "No, you can't laugh." I remember I went to Portland, then I left, and I come back for the 2-week thing and beat Piper, and had a loser leave town. It was me and Buddy and Ed Wiskowski against the loser. Both bushwhackers were baby faces, and Piper was a baby face, and it looked like I was going to beat Piper, and then he beat me, and I had to leave. Can you imagine coming in there for 2 weeks, winning every match, and all of a sudden and what it was Piper was an underdog, and he said goodbye to everybody before the match because I had screwed him. See, but anyway, that was wrestling. You won't see that anymore today. So what the hell?
What were the sheep herders called at that time?
They were okay. They were called the sheep herders then.
Oh, they were?
Yeah, no, yeah. They became the bushwhackers later. Earlier in that, they were Brutal Bob the Chess Miller and Sweet William. They were the Crazy Kiwis. I just turned that off.
I didn't know I knew. I mean, obviously, I knew they weren't the bushwhackers until like WWE or whatever. But I didn't know they were. I didn't know they were the sheep herders back then. I thought that was a fairly. I guess I didn't know them really until Memphis. Most everything I knew was through Memphis. But when they came in Memphis, they just killed everybody.
Yeah. What happened was when Buddy Rose, he'd always go to Hawaii. Hawaii used to be a territory run by Peter Maivia and The Rock's grandma. They used to run the Polynesian Promotion Incorporated or whatever it was there. And Buddy Rose would go there for like 2 weeks just to vacation and stuff. And he met Rick Martel, who was coming back from, I think he was in Japan, and he got him booked in Portland. And he got Butch and Luke, they were over there working, and he talked them into coming into Portland. So Buddy Rose, he'd go out and he'd find somebody, and he'd always get people jobs in Portland because Buddy was the man there. Buddy Rose was. He was great.
Get the little internet thing popping up. Maybe I should switch over to. I'm going to try something real quick. Might lose you just for a second, but I'm going to switch.
Changed my name.
All right. Maybe we're back. I don't know. It's still showing the little thing. Hopefully we're clear. We were on here last week. Hell, it's been a few weeks. We've had no internet issues at all. So
Well,
hopefully
it's like issues with a woman, right? All of a sudden something's wrong, something's the matter. What the hell, right?
Jeff G. So YouTube just changed your name, huh? Hopefully one day I don't wake up and I just have a new name because YouTube changed it.
Well, they could do that.
Wonder who you'll be, Rip.
I don't know. I could be a Disco Kid. I could be Hercules Samard.
Well, you've already been those. You think
Yeah.
YouTube will just change it to those?
Well, I guess they can do what they want to do, right?
I guess.
I mean, if they give me enough money, I guess. Yeah, I'll be whatever the hell you want to. You can call me Lucille if you want to.
Jason wants to know: did you ever meet the Mulkey brothers? Mulkey Mania, baby.
Yeah, I worked some shows with Crockett. I remember me and Ole worked some with Crockett, Richmond, and some other towns, and they were there. They was little bitty tiny guys.
Oh yeah,
yeah. They worked real hard, and they get the shit beat out of them. They was good for wrestling. I liked them guys.
I remember Rip and Mike Samples, both from Shelby Adcock's Tri-State promotion in Central City.
Good old Central City, Kentucky on Saturday nights there. Shelby Adcock. He had a son that was wrestling. Shelby was a Kentucky he was a Kentucky legend. Good old Shelby Adcock. Worked for him for a long time.
Medium 5 said, acknowledge me, taking one out of T. Weasel's book, said, so about the garden hose for ropes. He already answered that. He said, don't do it if you can. Like, get a real ring, a nice ring, a good ring. Shit rings and garden hose ropes are a no-no, really. Didn't you, Rip, kind of say that?
Yeah. What the hell, right?
Yeah. I had an 88 Ford LTD, big-ass boat. Awesome. The Kiwi sheep herders. Were they ever called the Kiwi?
Yeah.
Did you say that?
Yeah. Because I remember Elton Owen, he'd be talking to sheep herders. He'd go, the crazy Kiwis. And that was Butch and Luke. And then after a couple of years, Butch went home, and I think in Memphis, Lord Jonathan Boyd came in, and he was a sheep herder with Lukey.
He was a little more wild, wasn't he? Was he the one that was more wild, or am I remembering that wrong?
I think Butch was the wildest one.
Was he?
Butch was Brutal Bob the Chess Miller. He was the big heavy bench presser, and he was good. He was funny.
Radamias. Any memories of Radamias and what happened to him?
Well, Radamias was Billy Howard. Billy Howard, I think he broke in for Vern Gagne in the AWA, and he just worked underneath everywhere. And he was one of Angelo Popo's good friends. So he just wanted to get the hell out of the house. I remember he had the hot wife, Bill Howard did. And he come in as the character Radamias, and he didn't talk, and he'd have the food coloring on his tongue, so it was green. And I remember, like in the big Rupp Arena show where I lost my hair, we had the double cage match, and Randy worked babyface, and the place was the guys was trying to hit the ring. Radamias had so much heat. Randy just sold like a babyface so much, and people, they were just shocked. Randy put him over big time with the camel clutch. Randy was gaffed, bleeding and everything, and people was like, "Oh my God!" And Radamias, and he was a great pro. He basically looked like shit, but he always had a job. He was funny. He got along with everybody, and he could work.
Do you know where he is today? Is he alive? Do you know anything about him?
I have no idea. I'd be something I need to Google.
You guys aren't Facebook friends?
I don't know.
I don't know.
No.
G33333 Ball says, what are your favorite automobile for riding to shows?
I didn't give a shit as long as I got there. I drove shotgun, sometimes in the back. I remember one thing, we was going to Atlanta, and I was driving, and I had Glenn Jacobs, who was Kane, in the back seat. And this sumbitch was like legit 6'8", sitting in my back seat like this. And I'm just sitting there laughing, waiting for him to say, "Hey man, do you think I could sit in the front?" But he never did. So I just let him sit in the back. He was like this. Giant in the back seat, still like this.
Oh, he's young and respectful, man.
Yeah, well, just the way you're supposed to be. That's why he was so successful.
John Tucker in Green says this is the best thing I've heard in the last 30 minutes.
Oh shit, he's stealing our shit, ain't he?
Well, a lot of people do. It's
Oh,
catching
okay.
on.
We're just
It's-
over so much, right?
Frank or Jeff, look, Jeff G got his name back.
All right.
YouTube just
Now,
heard
how did he
us.
do that? It's back to my name. No, I think he's ribbing us. He's got something.
What is back to his name? Look,
But does he do that or
we did it. We just did it.
okay by us?
Yeah, YouTube got to change back because we bitched about it.
Oh, okay.
Roy Baker in the house. Heavy D in the house from Prince Edward Island.
Holy shit, Prince Edward Island. God, we used to go there in the Maritimes, and we go there about once a month, and we work different towns there. But you'd have to take the ferry boat over there. So you'd be sitting there in line, and you'd have to take the ferry boat over there for about an hour, and then the ferry boat back for about an hour. So, of course, we'd be having shenanigans with the girls taking us whatever. Then, but now in the Maritimes, the last time I was there in '97, they had a highway over there now, but they still changed it. They charge you $40 for taking the boat, or they charge you $40 for just getting on the highway. So what the hell,
Sure.
right? But it was always cool at Prince Edward Island. And we had to get the matches over at a certain time because we had to drive so many miles because like the one ferry, let's just say the ferry boat left at midnight. We had to be there by midnight or we'd have to wait for the one that would be like 4 or 5 hours later. Such action in the Maritime.
That's
Prince
right.
Edward Island. Don't
Did
get any
you
better than
tour
that.
or work with Sweet Daddy Siki in Grand Prix?
No, he was supposed to come in one year, but he didn't. I think he had too much shit going on with the sensational and intelligent Mass Thunderbolt in Toronto.
Did you ever do any of the Tony Condello
The Tony Condello tours? No, I always wanted to.
Who was that with? What was that?
He would get a big get a big old van or whatever, and they would go out and they would go all over Canada, go up towards Alaska, go up northern Canada. And he'd always have a lot of big names on there. And it would be like it'd be like getting you a Ribera Steakhouse jacket when you go to Japan. And then, but you're talking about it, if you was in Canada and you worked the Tony Condello tours, you were over.
Never heard of him.
Well, that's if you was in Canada, it would be a big deal.
Have you ever been hit with the green mist?
Yeah. George Animal Steel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, George Animal Steel. The day I hurt my knee and had to have knee surgery, I worked with George earlier, and it was me, Ed Kerner from Seymour, who was a school teacher. I was a school teacher, and we went to Canton, Ohio, and BB Coleman. We took my car. It's like he said, his plane was grounded. It was foggy, and his car was getting worked on. You know, he's never told the truth in his life. And I said, "Oh, okay, we'll just take my car, right?" So we took my Pinto there, and there's BB Coleman. He's sipping coffee. All of his teeth are knocked out like mine. So he's driving about 90 miles an hour, and my Pinto's going, and it was on the wrong speeds. But what the hell, right? So anyway, when we get there, it's Ed, who's Haas Tweed or Boss Tweed. I think it was H. I think he had HT on his Carlin Hildegard singlet, and yeah, and he used to be a teacher at St. Ambrose, and he was strict Lutheran, so that was serious heat, but he did it anyway. So he's a wrestler, and he was a wrestling coach, and then I'm a school teacher, so I'm talking with George Animal Steel, and I'm wrestling George Animal Steel. And I was horrible. I was rotten. I was a shits, but he liked me because I was a teacher and I was a football coach, just like he was. So he beat me with the big hammer lock where he'd hold me straight up in the air. And I thought my shoulder was going to come out, but then he would eat the turnbuckle and he'd rip it up, and he would have the green mist in his tongue. Yeah, he would do that, and then he would spit it and then blind you and everything. So it was awesome. So I got to work with the great George Animal Steel, and what memories it was.
Was it true that he kept teaching all during his career?
Or
a lot of his career?
Yeah. What he did was like he might work some TV, so he was on TV all year in those markets, and he could work on the weekends, but he was a school teacher Monday through Friday. And during football season, he probably didn't do it, but no, he was always on TV. He worked for Vince Senior, the WWF, And then he was always figured in because, like the old guys, a lot of guys, they'd stay there for 25 years in the same place. And,
Jeff G wants to know how Scott Romer's doing. How's old buddy Romer?
well, I just left him today. He's out. He's out doing a thing today with Elvis Presley's wife, Priscilla Presley, Tony Orlando, used to be on the TV show Tony Orlando and Dawn, and some big high roller that's a sports agent. He showed me the picture today, and then it's right in here on my phone, the one that makes all the noise all the time.
Well, where's this at? So he's doing something.
It's in
with
Chicago.
Elvis Presley's wife.
Yeah,
like just those two. Like
no, there's a lot of people
like,
come, but he was scheduled. That's why. Yeah, he left today, and they got a hotel, and he's in Chicago somewhere. I said, "You coming back tonight?" He said, "I don't know." So
any
that's
chance he hooks up with.
I'd hope not. She's probably 70-some years old.
Well, he's probably 60 something.
Yeah, but you
That's
know,
not
but
that
no,
much, is
I
it?
know. But as hot as Romer is, he's photographer of the year. He's over so much that no,
Presley's heck or
he
widow
needs
is
like a
not good enough
22
for Romer.
22-year-old or whatever. Are you kidding me?
I'd hook up with her if I wasn't married. My wife wasn't watching this show. I know you didn't do deadlifts. Did you use a leg press machine or
No.
do squats?
No, I squatted for 3 weeks of my life.
Really?
Yeah, I mean
Your
squatted.
legs used to be huge.
No, wait a minute. 3 weeks with weights.
Right.
Now, the first time in college I did it, I tried it one day. I couldn't walk for about 3 days, right? So that ended that. Then I went when I was living in Lexington in bodybuilding, I squatted 500 pounds. I remember I did 315 for 23, 405 for 11. Then I got 500 pounds one time, but I thought my bad knee, my left knee, my kneecap was going to explode. It hurt so bad. So I said, fuck this, because I just hurt myself. So whenever I was getting into bodybuilding contests, I did free squats every day. I did lunges every day. I did leg extensions every day. I did leg curls every day. And I rode the bike every day. So, yeah,
you had big legs. Like when you were in OVW in the 90s or whatever.
Yeah, that was
WCW. You had big legs then.
Yeah, that was just from that was just basically the free squats, because you didn't cost you any money. You didn't wait. You could do them anywhere. So I love doing free squats. Yeah.
Opinion Haver's in the house.
Well, it's about time he's late, you know.
Late, man. We're 12 noon concrete Eastern.
Every time, except sometime other
California.
stuff, you know. Well, you know, he's probably got him a 17-year-old girl. No one opinion.
I bet he's hanging out with that one guy that used to help us do a couple videos.
Oh, is that the guy that you paid and then he kayfabed us and then he quit with
they're
notice?
hanging out because everybody in California knows each other.
Yeah, and then that state's a little bit bigger than Indiana.
A little bit.
It's a little bit bigger. And Opinion Haver, he's probably over as Opinion and Haver. So 2 people, right?
And he does the show, the NXT review, Wednesday mornings. Him and Big Ray Hernandez. Wednesday mornings, I think it's like at 9 or 9:30 or.
Well, you know,
put it in the chat when it is, but I'm almost 100% positive it's Wednesday mornings, the NXT review, Opinion Haver, Big Ray Hernandez on the Hameen Media Group channel network.
You know, Ben Haneen's he's not going to be up that early.
How good was that, Opinion Haver? Did I come close? Trying to give you a plug there, man.
From the army of 2, but it's just really the army of 1 because he was carrying Zeus's ass all the time.
Oh, yeah. They are sometimes known as Tony Condello death tours because every story is about a time they almost died, he said.
Yeah, well, I believe that. I remember in Calgary, we was going somewhere and they had a Chinook, but it was in the wintertime, so it was like 80 degrees. But then all of a sudden on the way home, we had like 13 inches of snow. We went off the side of the road and we were stuck. So we're trying to push the thing out, and I had on short and like a basketball jersey and everything. So we was freezing to death. Now I remember we finally got towed out. We went to some restaurant to get omelets and shit. It was open 24 hours. As soon as we walked in, we had heels, but we had all kinds of people going in there. All of a sudden, all the omelets went from like $4.95, all omelets $10.
Oh, wow.
Of course, that was Canadian, but still, I guess they found something to make some money. So what the hell, right?
I was close. It is 11 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Pacific. Excellent job on the plug, and you'll be excellent when you come back on. Yeah, man, I'll get back on there. The only bad thing is it means I got to watch NXT again. So give me a heads up so I can watch it, I guess. Somebody said, hey, the Mark Henry interview and the Ace Steel interview were great. I'll tell you what, Rip, we've been getting Mark Henry was good. We got a lot of good stuff on that. Ace Steel, man, we've been blowing up. We're up to 7,866 subscribers now. We've had, man, I'll tell you what, we've had just in the last 7 days, almost 300 subscribers in the last 7 days. That's pretty.
Well, you're over.
Pretty
what can you
damn
say?
good.
You know, it's
Well,
just
ain't me, baby.
no, it's the Von Lila show. No,
I mean, I do spend all my waking hours, putting out the content, but it's the people out there that are watching it right now. So I do appreciate a lot of you watched it. I mean, I know a lot of you watch the stuff. We've actually been getting some comments. Most comments are good, positive, all that good stuff. We do get some other comments, like somebody said that it was like our fault, maybe, or Ace Steel's fault, or CM Punk's fault. I can't remember exactly. That AEW may not get a new TV deal, and it was because of people like us and Punk that have ruined everything, which I totally disagree on. Like, we don't want, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Rip, I'm speaking for you here. We don't want AEW to fail. We want there to be more wrestling. We're trying to get the Outrunners. We've been pushing the Outrunners for AEW to sign them for months. We don't have anything against Tony Khan. We don't have anything against AEW. There's some things we don't like about it. I mean, yeah, there's things I don't like about the Indianapolis Colts. Does that mean I want the Colts to fold and fail and all that kind of stuff? No. I don't think we just come on here and bash AEW. We don't really like modern wrestling, so to speak. Some of it's not even really wrestling, but we don't want it to not be on anymore. Am I wrong with that, Rip?
No, you're right. You're right about everything. We got a different opinion than people that just watch the show. Tony is obviously rich. Tony is obviously wants to do all the work by himself. Tony obviously loves wrestling, but I love NBA. I love the NBA, but you couldn't put me out there as an owner or a coach because I don't know shit about it. You can like it all you want, but to understand the thing, to have the experience of doing it, no. Am I going to really throw my political opinion out there? No. And you'll ask me about something, I'll say, no, I don't know anything about it. So why would I want to waste my opinion? Because it's probably stupid.
And we just had Mark Henry on, who works for AEW.
Right.
I mean, so anyway, but if you guys could continue to go watch the stuff on the channel, even if you were on live for the whole Ace Steel, so you already saw it all. When I put the clips out, when I put new clips out of Ace Steel that you've already seen, if you could go watch it, like it, and comment on it, that would be awesome. That keeps the, BSK, Buckshot Kid, goes out there and puts for the algorithm and just makes comments, whatever it is. All that helps. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for their support. And we're doing the best we can, considering I don't really know nothing, but what the fuck, right?
Sweet Daddy Siki and the Cuban Assassin used to tease my mother by sneaking up behind her and kissing her on the opposite cheeks.
Well, all right.
Probably couldn't do that these days.
Hey, the first match I ever had in Oak Hill, West Virginia, at the TV station there at WOAY studio, Cuban Assassin used to live there. And he was he was there that night. So my first night really of having my first match, I was in the dressing room with Angel Ancevita, the Cuban Assassin. So, and the thing with QB, I worked with QB in Calgary. I worked the Cuban Assassin in Kansas City, and I worked with the Cuban Assassin in Puerto Rico. So me and him go way back to the 1970s, and he was really Puerto Rican, and he could talk that shit. He took one of the highest backdrops, but the thing he's the most famous for, he'd always had a brass knucks in his his army fatigues, and the referee never searched him before the match unless he was playing hide the sausage, putting it under the arm and stuff like that, or he had a manager. But Cuban, he would drink immense quantities of beer.
Yep.
And we would be in traveling in the heel van in Calgary, and QB, he'd be going, time to stop. So that meant he was going to stop in the middle of the highway, which is always a 2-lane highway, and he would pee over the van, and he would adjust his thumb some way so it was like a tight spray, like a water hose thing, or he would fan it out, and it seemed like he peed for about 30 seconds. But I'd never seen anybody pee so much. And I think it was, if we had a camera and stuff, we could have got him in the Guinness Books of World Records of some of the greatest peeing over a van, spraying. But the Cuban Assassin, Angel Ancevita, is one of the greatest peers I've ever been around. He was a hell of a pisser, wasn't he?
Hell of a pisser. Look what we got popped up down there.
Rick. What popped up?
Down here.
Oh, there's Les.
Better get ready for the big intro, Rip. I'm gonna get the I'm gonna get the banner ready.
Get the banner. We're still on Rip Rogers Live.
Is that the right one? There we go.
I hope you can figure that. There's Les. There's Les. He's Les popping on right there.
Can you hear us?
No.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Oh, we can't hear you. Let's see. In the meantime,
it says can't unmute your guests because they chose to mute themselves. Do you see a little microphone down there at the bottom?
You hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. I thought I had unmuted it already. Okay. Now I've become a cyber genius, right?
Yeah, you made it.
Oh, shit.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm like Mr. Technology over here. I said, Lilas, fix it, whatever it is. I don't know how to do it.
Well, you know, when Vaughn told me that you might have you had trouble with that too, I thought, well, we're just a couple of salty old trainers. We're not supposed to be cyber experts, right? We're just supposed to know how to teach wrestling.
Well, you know how to teach wrestling. I just copied you. That's why I call you the guru. You know,
you copied me. Huh?
Yeah. What the hell, right? You go back to running the thing in Cincinnati, going, man, and you've always been so tight with the Fullers, haven't you? But, you did TV.
Actually, that friendship started with Ron and I in 1970.
Okay.
I'd gone into Tampa territory and he was there.
Uh-huh.
And we just bonded. We just got along really well. And of course, then when he bought Knoxville in 74, he called me and said, I want you to build me a TV, a carte blanche. So it picked up from there. So yeah, we still hang out every once in a while.
He's got some great stories. I just like
the only stories you talk about is his package, though. Rip.
No, that was Robert Fuller.
Oh, Robert Fuller. All right. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, Ron's about legit 6'9".
Yeah.
I remember one night we were in Montgomery and Robert had the book. So when Robert had the book, we all had a good time, but the show was about an hour and 15 minutes long. And all of a sudden at the end of the show, you see this guy, he's got cowboy boots on to make his about that much taller. Then he had that cowboy hat on top of that. So big Ron Fuller is about 7'3" walking in. And he says, Robert, these matches usually end about this time. And Robert's looking around. He's waiting for somebody to save him. He goes, well, yeah. So anyway, after that night, Ron took over the book. And but anyway.
How long were you with the Fullers?
Oh, wow. Well, Ron, Mac McMurray and I were the first two guys in this territory. You know, when Ron kicked it off here in 74, we were the yin and yang with him to start the ball rolling. And I stayed here. He sold to Barnett, and I was with Barnett for a while. And then Jim and I agreed to disagree. And so I went down to Pensacola, Mobile with Ron. And then Barnett sold to Jim Crockett Jr., Flair, and Blackjack Mulligan. And Flair called me and said the TV Channel 10 here in Knoxville would let him stay on the air, but they wanted me back as the host. So we made a deal, and I came back to Knoxville. And then they ran it. Well, this is when the war started, when Rip was on the opposition. Rip was our mortal enemy.
Yeah.
But, no, he wasn't. But anyway, so then Crockett finally closed down, and I freelanced then until I moved back to Cincinnati in '85 and started working with bodybuilders and training them. And then picked up with Cornette and came back down here. I've actually worked with 5 different promotions in Knoxville. Started with John Kazana in 1968.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, 5 different promotions in this city alone.
Did you work with Dirty George Cavaleris?
No, I did not. I know the name. I don't think I've ever met him, Rip.
Well, he was quite the character, and he supplied some money. We had the shows, and we built the whole shows around him. And he was like a kid in a candy store, right? He was over. Dirty George Cavaleris. Didn't get any better than that.
I heard that. Who did
So
you start with? Who did you start in the business with?
Really, I bullshit my way in. The first thing I did was find out where they got their boots that made at, and I got the $29 specials from Carl and Hildegard. I got all the 5.0 trunks, the shimmer cape, the silver bolero, all the different kinds of shit. I got that, so I looked like a wrestler. And I'm like 22 years old, and I had the black afro, and I was a high school teacher and coaching football. And then I went to Oak Hill, West Virginia. A buddy of mine, Steve Cooper, was there he was from Seth, West Virginia. He had his first match with Shirley Love and Warren Schernbuck back at the old WOAY studios there. So he said, and he called me, he says, "Hey, I just had my first match." And I said, "Oh, you lying piece of shit, He says, "No, I knew you wouldn't believe me." So I taped it over the phone. So there's play-by-play of Shirley Love talking and everything. And I said, "Oh man, you had a match." He says, "I got you booked next week." I said, "Holy shit." So I'm going to go from Indianapolis, Indiana to Oak Hill, West Virginia. So me and Cooper go. So I'm going there. So I'm not even smart to the business. I've been to the ring a couple. Now, did you know the old carny Don Pruitt?
Don Pruitt. I've met him. Yeah.
Okay. And I think his name was Don Pruitt. Then he had a couple kayfabe names, Don Brandenburg and stuff. And he helped us when he had a ring in Indianapolis, but nobody knew how to work, train, or anything. I went a couple times. I said, "Well, hell, I'm just going to get hurt." And these guys, I said, "I'm stupid, but they're stupider than me. So let me get the hell out of here." But I'd met Steve Cooper. So I'm going down to the WOAY studios. Me and Cooper go down there. And so I'm working, I can't remember what the guy's, Indian Joe or something like that. But Angel Ancevita happened to live in Oak Hill, West Virginia. And he happened to be home off the road. So I met the Cuban Assassin the first night. And I knew he had worked for shows for Don Pruitt and everything. So I'm watching. B.B. Coleman comes down from Akron, Ohio. He comes down to the WOAY studio, and he's watching me. And I'm watching him, and he's cutting blades up and putting on his fingers. I'm going, "Oh my God, I hope I don't wrestle him. He'll just slice me to death, right?" So I'm like, I'm having a good time, but I'm like, I'm not smart to the business. I've never really talked to real wrestlers or anything. So when I tell people I was the worst guy in the history of wrestling, but at least I knew enough to shut the fuck up and listen to guys that have been there. So I'm wrestling this guy, and but Warren Schernbeck, he says, "Okay, you're working with this guy," and he said, "You babyface or heel?" I said, "Yeah." So I said, I'm thinking, what the fuck?
Did you know what a heel was?
No, hell no. Everything, you didn't, everything was kayfabe then, right? So he said, "When you get the pencil, go home." So I'm going, "When I get the pencil, go. What the fuck? When I get the pencil, what the fuck? When I get the pen, what the fuck?" So this guy named Indian Joe, he says, grab my, well, at first I come out there, so I start yelling at everybody, but I'm a baby face. Well, I seen guys on TV do that, right?
Right. Oh, you're like a lot of the indie guys today. They
Yes.
just copy what they see
So-
on TV, right?
Yeah. So I'm as any goof that's in their 20s working today, think they're over. I knew I wasn't over, but I was just trying to act like I knew what was going on, even though I knew nothing. So, wow, the guy's telling me to grab his arm. I'm saying, fuck you, right? Then he fucking hits me. Boom. I said, fuck, I must have some adrenaline in me. I didn't even feel that son of a bitch. I'm thinking, I'm tough, right? And this is probably like the first real fight of my life or whatever. You know what I mean? So then he hits me hard. Ow, God damn, I'm going. He's going sell. I said, wait a minute. I heard that word before, right? So needless to say, with the worst match in the history of wrestling, and I didn't get it on tape or anything like that, and then they ended up having the TV station burned down, so that lost all that was gone. But I did it. I made it through the night. I got my money. I'd never been so emotional.
How much did you make?
Oh, 2.5, baby. But I guess I was a good negotiator because I talked about him. I got an extra 2.5 for trans.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there.
I made $12 in my first match.
Okay.
Of course, that was 1960.
Mm-hmm.
What year was yours?
This was like 76. Yeah. So yeah.
Now, I did hear about your first match. You said that you weren't really smart to the business at that time either.
Until that day.
Until that day.
Yeah.
And you
well, I trained with, I trained in 1960, but I had the bug. I fell in love with the business. I'm 8 or 9 years old, right? The first time I saw it on the 10-inch black and white TV screen. And then in the teens, it was between drag racing and wrestling, right? I mean, I was in drag. I was driving on a drag strip when I was 15 before I had a license to drive on the street. Loved it.
Wow.
I still love it, but I'm a little old to be doing it. But anyway, if we got a big sponsorship out of that, I might, still. Well, I still did some drag racing. I came home in the summers, the first 4 or 5 years I wrestled it, and we raced, my dad and I. But anyway, I drove up from Cincinnati to Reynoldsburg, Ohio, where Al Haas' office was. Right, this was when I was early 18 years old, and he had this guy come out to talk to me who was Frankie Taliber, and of course I'd seen Frankie on TV. I had no idea he was the booker. I didn't even know what the hell a booker was, right? And of course I'm telling him what I want to do, and he's real nice and tells me, kid, you got to get some experience and put on some size. I was probably 175 pounds at the time, 180 maybe. And so I'm thinking, where do I get experience? Nobody will
use you.
Right. So wrestling magazines were, hell, there must have been 7 or 8 different monthly magazines at that time. And so anyway, Wrestling Review had this story on Tony Santos in Boston, who
had the wrestling school.
Yes. And the first one ever. Right. And so I sat down and wrote him a letter. No cell phones, no internet at the time, wrote him a letter. And so a few weeks later, I got this trifold in the mail back. In fact, I still got it. I hung on to it, telling me, make big money, travel the world, be a TV star and all that, right? $300 for 6 months. This is 1960, right? And so I climbed on a Greyhound bus in February of 1960, went to Boston, had no idea what I was getting into, walked into Santos's office. I mean, I didn't have an appointment or anything, right? 2 suitcases and just a dumb kid, a 19-year-old kid from Cincinnati. And that's how I got my start. He sent me in a rooming house, $10 a week, right?
God, that's awesome.
I know, Guy, you mentioned I was, but July the 4th was 1960, my first match. And guys say, when they smarten you up? I said, July the 4th, 1960.
Yeah.
Right. But you know what, Rip? I've said this too. And not that I'm not a badass, I'm not a tough guy. But a lot of these kids that are in business today wouldn't have lasted 2 weeks in that environment at all. Because I'll be honest, they handed me my ass every night just to see if I was going to stick, because they weren't going to smart. I'll tell you how they taught us to work. They'd say, okay, we want you to walk like you're having a match. We've showed you a lot of holes and stuff. So exchange holes, do all takedowns, but don't apply any pressure. You guys aren't getting paid. And there's no winner or loser, right? So in essence, they were teaching us to work without teaching us to work, right? Wow. And so the morning of July the 4th, the rooming house where I stayed was just across the street from the gym. And Tony sent one of his sons over to say, Dad needs to see you. Now this is early on the morning of July the 4th. I'm thinking, oh, I'm in trouble, right? I'm about to get my ass chewed or something like that. So I go over and he says, he said, you've got your boots and you've got trunks and everything. I said, yes, sir, I do. He said, well, you go home and pack them. Come back. We're going to talk. Today is your day. Talk about being as nervous as a whore in church. That was me, right? So I went home and got my gear, came back, and I said, and so he's starting to tell me now. He said, you know how you guys used to work out and just put the holes on, but never applied pressure? I said, yes, sir. Well, that's what the guys are going to do with you today, with the impression that that's only going to happen today, right?
Right.
And so anyway, but the guys will pick you up here. We went to Blue Hills, Maine. I don't know, probably 250 miles from Boston. In the car was Joe Sasso driving his little Ford Falcon. He was played football at Boston College, and he was a local kid. He hadn't been in the business too long. Bull Montana, who I'd bought tickets to see, and Cowboy Ronnie Hill, who was the guy I had my first match with, and he had come in the gym and worked out with us some. So between Boston and Blue Hills, Maine, that was a major part of my education as well. Those three guys feed me everything they could. So I worked the opener with Ronnie, and Joe Sasso and I went back against Ronnie and Bull in a tag in the main event. This was the Fairgrounds in Blue Hills, Maine. And my first shower was a spring with a cold spring water coming through a hose in the back of the towers where they have for the races on the racetrack at the fairgrounds, right? But that was my start, $12, and nice. It went from there. But yeah, well, Dusty broke in there 9 years after me. Luke Graham broke in there a year after me. Rufus Jones broke in there. So some good guys came out of there at the time that were there. Alex Medina, Ronnie Dupree, Black Magic, Don Kindred, Pat Patterson. Well, this poster up here behind me. On the other side, over here, on the other side, me against Patterson. Les Milady against Pat Patterson, 1961 in Holyoke, Massachusetts, right? So we all lived in the same rooming house. But you know what? The whole time when I trained, before Tony smartened me up, that day at 4th of July, I lived in a rooming house with Ronnie, Al, all these guys who were smart to the business and worked every night. They never smartened me up. We'd sit down and have social life and everything. Not a clue, not a friggin' clue. But that's, yeah.
Wow.
That's
Did you win your first match?
Huh?
Did you win your first match?
I did not. I don't remember when I won a match. Never mind my first one. But a couple of the other kids that were training, a guy named Indiana named Charlie Porter, a farmer, nice guy. We worked together some. There was a guy named Billy Graham, that's his real name, who owned a fuel and ice business in Foxborough. And actually, I worked on his. Now, you want to get some cardio in, Rip? You got a 25-pound block of ice in each hand with the tongs. And those old tenement houses in Back Bay, Boston, their stairs were straight up and down, brother. So the lady on the 3rd floor wants 2 blocks of ice. Woo-wee. And you wonder, and I kept wondering why I couldn't gain weight, right? All them blocks of ice, but I had cardio running out my ears. But yeah, it was, so I stayed there with Tony. I went home at Christmas of 60, came back in early winter, and then got married there in 61 November and left. And the night before I got married was Luke Graham's first match in Brockton, Mass, against Frank Shields, who later went to Minneapolis as Bo Belinsky. Right. So yeah, that's some great history up there, man. You know, there was no TV at that time in Boston. None.
What did your parents think when you just took off at 19 from Cincinnati and headed out east to be a wrestler?
You know what, Vaughn? I think I hit the lottery for parents. I swear
Oh, yeah?
to God. They were supportive. They were like my best buddies more than my mother and my father when I got into my teens. I mentioned the drag racing. My dad helped me with the car. My mom would fix sandwiches and come and write down the people in the other cars in my class so we knew what we were running against. And they were supportive. You know, I started as actually an active, organized athlete at age 7 in baseball and played baseball, football, basketball, the whole 9 yards. And they were supportive of it all. Talk about bumping heads with some guys. I played baseball against Roger Staubach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In Cub Scouts, no less, right?
That's awesome.
My mom used to she was a big sports fan. And after Staubach went to the Cowboys and all that, right? She had cut a clipping out of the area paper, the Cub Scout All-Star game. I was a starting first baseman for the East, and Staubach was starting outfielder for the West.
Wow.
So,
about
but
that?
Yeah, you know, it's crazy who you meet coming in this business or going through this business. You know, it truly is.
We have a question here of somebody in the chat, one of our loyal listeners here. Wants to know if anybody taught character back then in the 60s, like gimmicks, characters, things like that. Was that ever focused on?
Never. I don't remember everybody mentioning your character, right? You developed basically who you were. I mean, Thatcher was the name that Barnett gave me because people had such a hard time pronouncing Milady. They mispronounced Malady, Malady. Tony Santos kept the name. It's Irish because of Boston and the Irish influx there, right? So he thought it would help there. So it was my name. So when I started with Barnett, I used it. And then about, 4 or 5 weeks in, Les Ruffin came in the locker room one night and said, "Hey, the old man is tired of people mispronouncing your last name. He wants to change it to Thatcher. Do you care?" Hell, I just wanted to wrestle, right? I didn't care what they called me or if they called me. So I said, "No, that's fine." So I've been Les Thatcher ever since, you know. But
that's cool. You know when they started like teaching character, or did people just always develop their own? When did that kind of come into play? Do you have any idea?
You know what? I've said, Tom Pritchard and I have had this conversation. I bet Rip will agree with me here. We teach things today that were never actually taught to us back then. They were things we had to pick up from the guys around us. They were never somebody said, "You need to do this to sell this," or or your facials are bad or this or that. There was never any details to you like that. It was just, you needed to shut your mouth, open your eyes, and pay attention, right? In fact, I don't even know, you mentioned that I win my first match. I don't remember how many matches I lost before I won my first match. But, it was always like, when I came back and worked for Barnett, it was, talk about an education, doing jobs for the Bruiser, for the Sheik.
I remember you working for Dick the Bruiser.
Yes, sir.
Because the guy from Roger Kirby was there.
Dennis Hall.
But I remember going back to like 1961. Well, yeah. I remember watching wrestling. But I was just enamored with wrestling, and it was always 1 hour of wrestling. It might be on at 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I'd be setting the alarm clock so I could watch it and everything. And I went to my first match in '61 in at the old Seymour High School gym, and it was Dick the Bruiser against Cowboy Bob Ellis. Joe and Guy Brunetti was there. I remember that.
Joe Tangaro and Guy Brunetti. Yeah,
that's sure. Right. And my grandpa took me, and that was the greatest time I'd ever had, and just been a total fucking nut ever since there. And you was talking about how you wrote, writing letters to how you got into Tony Santos.
Right.
I was in college, and I wrote a letter to Vern Gagne about going to his training school. He actually sent me a letter back and accepted me. And I remember the first thing that I said, I'm a shade under 6 foot. I was really 5'10" and a half, well over 200, well over 200 pounds, 203. So I got the thing, and he wrote me back the whole thing. All I had to do was do this and that. But in the meantime, I'd bullshit my way in. It already started and started working for Bruiser. I started working for Sheik. I'd worked for the old WWF. I worked for Nick Goulas, etc. Worked for Don Pruitt. And all of a sudden, just think how good I would have got if I'd have had proper training.
So you just never went?
I already got into business.
Well, you know, all of us, I think, you know, it was learning on the job training for the most part. It was. Well, you know, even here, I mentioned when Crockett and them bought this territory and I came back, I was going down to the Coliseum here on Fridays when the ring was set up with some of the young guys. One of those young guys was Terry Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I hooked up with him, I stepped back and I said, "Are you mad at me?"
Oh, yeah.
I said, "Jesus Christ, loosen up. This is the work," right? But he bulled his way in. He bullshitted his way in too. I'll tell you, you were telling the story about you getting started. I'll tell you a good story about a guy. You remember Bill White?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Hell of a guy. And he turned into a hell of a good worker, right? Okay. This was Knox in Nashville when I was working out in Nashville office. I was down here every Friday and Saturday at the time. Whitey and I were the hot baby faces off of Kazana's TV, right? Mm-hmm. And we were the Tennessee Tag Team Champions on his promotion. So anyway, Bill had as little experience, about 5 minutes, I guess, someplace. But anyway, he conned his way in with Goulas. Mm-hmm. So Goulas booked him in Knoxville. And he rode with Mac York. For those who don't know, Mac York is Ricky Morton's uncle.
Okay.
Yeah. Hell of a good heel. Do you ever work with him, Rip?
No.
No.
Ricky Morton, yeah, but no.
Yeah. Hell of a good heel. Anyway, so Bill White's riding to Knoxville from Nashville with Mac. And in the conversations, Bill's telling about all his dream. You know, he wants to beat Dory Funk Jr. for the world title. And Mac's figuring out this guy's not completely smart to the business, right? Uh-huh. And he said, well, you know what? To get your start, you want to get over in this territory, people notice you. He said, now tonight, you and I are wrestling the Tennessee Tag Team Champions. It's not a championship match, but if you could beat one of those guys, boy, they'd notice. Yeah, you think? So, but of course, Mac don't share that with Whitey Caldwell and I, right? He don't tell us. So I started the match with Mac. And he finally tagged Bill in. And Jesus Christ, it was like a building. It just hit me, right? And finally, I said, loosen up. And he could, finally I hooked him and took him down and got in his ear. I said, relax. And you could feel, kind of the tension go out. I said, relax and listen to me. We're going to get through this, right? And so he calmed down a little bit. So anyway, when I tagged Whitey, I said, you're going to love this. Now, seriously, I don't know. Did you ever work with Whitey?
No.
That was one tough SOB. Pound for pound, one of the toughest. I mean, legitimately. The boys from East, the Tri-Cities walked softly around Whitey. I don't care what their name was or what their size was. Anyway, Whitey locked up with him and all hell. Whitey snatched him because he got stiff with Whitey. Whitey took him down. Anyway, we got through it. Got back to the locker room and I grabbed him by the arm and took him in the shower room before anybody else got in there. And I said, listen, if you want to live the rest of this week and have a career in this business, loosen up. God damn it. Listen to the guys you're working with. But that was, he was, I don't even know half smart, right? But he figured if he beat us, and John Kazana would tell Nick, and Nick could give him a shot at somebody's title, right?
Did he ever say anything back about it?
Huh?
Did he ever say anything about it, like back to you?
Oh, Bill? Oh, he's told people I was one of his trainers. When he got an award at Cauliflower Alley, he had me, presenting because, Well, you know what? I never thought that Jim Dillon said I was part of his training. Scott Casey says the same thing. Terry Taylor. So I guess I was a trainer before I was a trainer, right? Only I didn't know it at the time.
Well, that leads into our next question here. So we might as well get into this a little bit while you just mentioned that. Said, my question for Les is favorite memories of HWA and his views on former WWE developmental companies like OVW, FCW, Memphis, and Deep South. So before you get into that, how did HWA come about? Did you just get that started on your own?
Wow. Actually, I was training bodybuilders and competing myself. I'd compare biceps to the rip, but he's got that great genetic peak on his.
No,
he was flexing earlier.
No, it's called cheat curls.
It's called your mom and dad gave it a damn genetics. I know exactly what it's called.
On the 12th set.
On the 12th set, right?
I said, I'm gonna get these and nothing will stop me until I tore my bicep.
But yeah, I envy that damn peak.
Yeah, well, just tear him.
Remember Albert Beckles?
Oh, Albert Beckles. Oh,
He
man.
didn't he? He had a beautiful set of biceps.
God, I'm just a bodybuilding nut like you.
Well, I was the senior trainer at Perillo's in Cincinnati. What? John Perillo Performance. You know who John is?
Not anymore.
National NPC judge. He trained Linda Murray, which I got a chance to work with her. He trained Mike Ashley, Sharon Bruneau, Debbie Mugley. Yeah, so I got to work. Ron Love, when he was getting ready for the Olympics a couple of years, stayed at my house a couple of weeks, and I did. My mom did his diet, and I took him to the gym every day. So so that's what I was doing when I got involved with actually training guys. And you know Bob Harmon from Cincinnati, beautiful Bobby.
Beautiful Bobby, yeah.
He called me one day and said, "There's this guy's got a wrestling school here in Cincinnati, and he's got some idiot as his trainer." And I'll tell you who the idiot. Well, you'll know who the idiot was. You'll say it, that idiot. Anyway, he said, and he's got an idiot. He's going to lose all them students if he doesn't get somebody decent. And I said, okay, why are you telling me? Well, I said, are you nuts? I don't train wrestlers. I've never trained wrestlers in my life, right? So he asked me to go. They were having a show on Saturday night on the west side of Cincy. And he said, meet me and go to the show with me. I had never been to an independent wrestling show at that point. And God, was I shocked when I saw it, my friend. Right? I said, this is what our business has come to, right? Anyway, the guy who owned the school was there. And so anyway, we're watching, and this one guy picks up a chair. And I could tell the way he was holding the chair, he didn't know what the hell to do with it, right? So legit, he cold cocked his opponent. I mean, the other guy was big. It was out on his feet. And one of the guys in the back came and got him out of the ring because he was walking around in circles. So I leaned over to Bob and I said, that kid didn't know what the hell he was doing. How long has he been training? And Bob leans over to the guy that owns the school and says, ask him. And he leans back to me. And he said, he's had 6 training sessions. I said, oh my God, he's not smart enough to know how to give a flying mare yet, for Christ's sake. Never mind hit somebody with a chair. So that's when I made up my mind, I'm going to try this, right? So the first Sunday that I went in, first of all, they were only training 1 day a week. He only had the gym for 2 days, Saturday and Sunday at the time. And I said, we're going to train both days. There's no damn way you're going to get this done 1 time a week. But when I got with these kids, I said, here's the bad news. You're going to start from scratch because nobody has ever actually taught you anything worth a damn. And we're going to start from scratch. And that's how I got started, and then found out he was stiffing me for money and these kids lying to these kids about a bunch. Well, he had told these kids, and I didn't know this until after actually I had left him. But he had told these kids that he had bought into Smokey with Jimmy. And part of the deal was I became trainer for his company. Well, I'll tell you, the company is the one that Roger Ruffin's got now, the NWF. And Roger came in. I had Roger come in and referee a couple matches. And when I first started putting those kids out in front of some people, because I'd known Roger since he was 9 years old, because he used to come to the matches with Les Ruffin, right? Mm-hmm. And so I've known Roger since he was 9 years old. And he's the one that actually ended up with NWF because some of the guys from there, we split off, bought a ring from, where the hell did we get the damn ring? From
Mike Samples.
And that's how HWA started.
So just to backtrack a little bit here. So the guy that was running it, did he agree to let you come in then? Like what?
He was a talk about a con man. He had a ministry that bought him a car, and I don't know that he was ever a God-fearing man or a minister, but he had told these kids, and I find all this out later, right? He had told these kids that he was going to Japan to wrestle for a week and just didn't show up. And none of them knew where he lived or a phone number. You know, he would contact them. They didn't know how to contact him. So he comes back in at the end of this week with bandages on his head, saying he got juice against Inoki. And you'd have, all I saw this guy for 2 minutes in a wrestling ring, and he don't have a friggin' clue, right? He can barely slap his ass with both hands. He was just a con man, right? And I realized that he'd stiff me for a few bucks, not a lot, but he was jerking these kids around too. So one of the kids said, well, you know, I'll help buy a ring. And so that's how HWA got started initially.
That's awesome. So did you get rid of that guy then?
Huh?
Did you get rid of the con man then? Did he just leave?
The con man we walked away and left the con man.
Oh, you just went elsewhere.
Yeah.
I got you.
And then Roger took over as his trainer.
Got you.
And then Roger ended up with the company. But we came up with a name there too. The NWA, you know, Northern Wrestling Federation. So
somebody said you're talking about Bag Brown. I don't know. Is that the same Bag Brown you used to talk about?
God, I'm trying to think. Bag Brown. Oh, God, Bag Brown. I remember Roger come out. I was booking Kansas City, and Psycho Sam Cody was out there. He went home and got Rowdy Roger Ruffin and brought him out to work for Geigel. So, God, I've seen not as much stuff as you, but I've seen some good stuff. But when we was talking about when I'm on the guys today, what I'm on and about is we pretty much wrestled every day when we were in the territories. So we got so good, but we got good because we shut up and we discussed things in the match, what you could do, how to be different. And you would critique yourselves. The young guys just shut up, and the older guys helped them. And I was so bad, but guys knew that I had a good attitude, and I would shut up and do what they told me. A couple guys would fuck with me, but that's okay. That's the wrestling business. But
right.
Most of it, I would learn to filter good and the bad out. And so I'm in the cars with Buddy Rose, with Roddy Piper, with Randy Savage, with Angelo, with Ronnie Garvin, with Bob Roop, with Boris Malenko. So I'm learning all this shit. So, and I'm getting better and better and better. And I'm calling everything on the fly. So when I started teaching at OVW, I had never taught anything in my life. But I guess I was sort of good at it because I got 70 guys jobs with WWE, not with the guys that were the chosen few like the Brocks, the Sheltons, the Batista, the Cenas and stuff like that, but with the guys like Santino, Serena Deeb, the guys, Armando Estrada, JTG, the guys that come in and join the beginners class. Because I got fired twice by WWE. No, if you was a girl, I'd call you a lazy fucking cunt.
Hey, don't say it.
I know.
No, that's me.
Don't say it on YouTube.
Oh, well, whatever. Okay, we'll zap it out or whatever. And then I'd question. I said, no, you're a fat, lazy, whatever. And I said, that ain't going to happen around here. I said, I'm going to push you to be so good because you think you're good, but you're not. You get out here in the dog eat dog world I said, girls, if you're hot, other girl wrestlers hate you. If you can work and you're hot, they're all going to figure out some way to get rid of you because there's only so many jobs in this business. And I got to teach you guys. I'm like Sergeant Carter protecting Gomer Pyle from the war in Vietnam. And I got to make you guys so good that when you actually go in there and you got hardly any experience, you're going to be better than the other veterans. You can call this shit. You understand this shit. As soon as you screw up, I'm dinging you, get the hell out of my ring, whatever. And you sit there and listen and watch and shut up. And I will make you good. And I will take everything personal about anybody screwing with you too. But this is an art. You got a 1 chance in 1,000 to make this thing.
Right.
And a lot of them made it. So
you know what? Between the two of us, if we get the people that we have touched their careers, we could have a hell of a territory, couldn't we?
Yeah.
We have multiple. So back to the HWA then. How long did you have it until you got
10 years. 10 years.
Until developmental came in, though, and how
before developmental, we actually started HWA. It was in 92, and the first time that developmental thing came up. Well, first, Corny called me, and WWE needed some some guys, enhancement guys, right? So the first time any of my guys worked in a major ring was at Cincinnati Gardens for WWF. I put 3 guys in there. And so they used a couple of my people like that. Then Pritchard came by and talked to me, and Brother Love. And Bruce said, you know, we're consider you for developmental territory. So we talked about the money and talked about, you know, what to do and this and that. I said, good. So I kind of thought we had a deal. He went back to Stanford. So I'm waiting. And I told the guys that are with me, I think this is going to be a great move for us. And I called and I talked to Terry Taylor, and nothing's happening. No contracts come or anything. So one day my phone rings and it's Gary Juster from WCW on the other end of the line. And he said, JJ and Terry Taylor and I were, or Terry was still at WWE at the time. JJ and I talked about you, and we think somebody's reading our mail. And I said, what do you mean? So we were talking about, expanding our developmental system, and your name came up, and you haven't signed with anybody, have you? I said, I know WWE's talking, or WWF's talking to you. I said, no, I haven't signed a thing. He said, well, please don't till we talk to you. We'll fly you down here, and sit you, blah, blah, blah. So I fly down, and introduced me to people, and JJ and Gary, I was sitting talking. So we went to lunch, came back. He said, what would be your, if you, to get your company right now in the position you want, what would you want? Well, I want a box truck. I don't want this and that and the other thing. Okay. So we got a deal right there. And so I got the truck. I got the bump pads, got the guardrails, the whole 9 yards, plus a bonus, and a hell of a good salary. Of course, what I didn't know is financially the company was, rough. It was bleeding money every day.
So this was WCW.
It should have. And we were in a small gym at the time, but we got a bigger place, 6,000 square feet, office, air conditioned, the whole thing, right? We were set up right when they pulled the plug. So everybody thought, this is it. The place is going to close and this and that. But JR, through Cornette, had told me, when I said to Jimmy, I said, tell Ross that, I'm sorry. And Jim had sent back, well, we'll get a chance to work with each other someplace else. So it wasn't too long after that I got a call from Jim. And he said, Memphis is not working out. We have given them a deadline to get it together or we're pulling the contract. He said, the way it looks right now, we're pulling the contract. I just don't want you to tell anybody, but it's all yours, when it gets done. So I had guys pulling out on me, right? But I knew better than to talk about it because I've seen guys screw their deals up with WWF by opening their mouth when the company didn't want you to. So anyway, that's how we ended up with the contract with them. I enjoyed it. Now, Have you done a guest week down at the PC, Rip?
No.
I did one,
Mhm.
and I'm watching these, and I'm thinking, man, I love the atmosphere, love the place is great, but we went to a show one night, and one of the guys is sitting there on a computer, on a laptop, writing up all the matches in this show and sending it back, I guess, probably to Levesque and, and Sean and whoever else. And I thought, here we're talking about being cyber idiots. I thought if they wanted me down there, I'd have to go to school for computers for typing. I couldn't write that fast, right? But they got a great system down there. But seriously, I think between the two of us, the people that we've touched, it's not that we started all these people, but they have our philosophy in their systems. And that's somebody needs to have. Today, my biggest problem today with the product that I see, except WWE, is, you know what they remind me of right now? Of a territory that's caught fire. They couldn't make a mistake if they tried, right? They're on a roll. They have more guys over than they need over now. But if, I just said on a podcast this morning, if I were a promoter currently, I don't care if it's Impact or TNA or whatever they're calling it today, AEW, NWA, whoever, the yardstick of how you need to promote your business is you just sit down and watch the whole bloodline storyline unfold. And that's as old school Ripper, am I right, as it gets. Take your time.
Yeah, that
he doesn't watch.
No, I don't watch wrestling, but Romer he's always got the TV on, and every that bloodline thing that they must have done that over a year. Just
well, here's the thing. Stop and think about it. Sammy Callahan was a comedic figure 18 months ago or 2 years ago, right? People are laughing at him. He's not a comedic figure today because of that damn storyline. He's as over as any babyface in that company, as is both the Usos, and it rejuvenated KO, right? I mean, man, it's old school. They're taking their time. They're making people, I'm critical as anybody. I am. But I noticed in the middle of that whole storyline, I thought, damn, I'm sitting here not anxious for the show to be over, not getting tired of watching it, but want to see what's going to happen next. And it's the subtle things. Roman's facial expressions are as important as his bumps. And most of these kids don't have facial expressions, right? And but it's the whole thing. They've made some. Cody's hot. My guy LA Knight is hot too, right? John is hot. He's been around 20 years, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
He's an overnight sensation. It only took him 20 years to be one.
Yeah, it's good to see somebody like that's
now
made it, I guess you could say, or whatever, from being around for so long, and the gimmick they tried to give him with the model deal and all that kind of stuff, and to get out of all that and to be where he is now, I think that's awesome. Awesome to see.
That's something I think if there's any young independent guys watching, realize if you don't make it the first day, right? If you're not figured for WrestleMania main event 6 minutes after you got in the business, you don't know if it's ever going to happen, but you better keep digging, Damian Priest. I worked with him at the Monster Factory 5-6 years ago.
I did too. Yeah.
Good guy, hell of a nice guy. And he's doing a hell of a job. But the last time we were together there, he pulled me off the side and he told me, I forget how long he'd been doing this, and he'd given up a good job, right? And a new car. And he said, how long do I keep at this? I said, the only guy can answer that is the guy you see looking back at you from the mirror. It can't be me. It's got to be you. And every time I see him now, I thought, it's a damn good thing you hung on, brother, because your pockets are lined with a lot more money than mine at this point.
Yeah, I'd say he's doing all right now financially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who were some guys back then in HWA then that went on to be in the WWE? Like who were some of your
WWE? Let's see who. When I had the contract, I had guys that should have been in there that got tryouts and got contracts, but then for what? But that is subjective, right? we can all three watch a wrestling match and see three different things, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure Rip will tell you from being part of developmental, there were times that Danny and Corny and I would sit in a meeting, right, with JR and probably Shane McMahon and whoever, Johnny Ace, and talking about the developmental guys, right? And it's say, well, we're looking at this guy maybe to bring him. Well, you know, they'd ask us, and we'd say, well, maybe this guy's ready, right? This guy's not ready. 4 or 5 weeks later, the guy that we said wasn't ready, he's the guy that's going up for the dark match, and the guy we thought was ready is still staying down where he's at, right? And so it was frustrating for them too. The kids got frustrated as well. And but some Shark Boy never made it there, but he was a hell of a hand. Matt Stryker, you ever see my Matt Stryker work?
Oh yeah, yep, I sure did.
Yeah, he's a hell of a hand. BJ Whitmer, Chad Collier.
Collier was really good.
Yeah.
Ray Steele had a developmental contract, and he, for whatever reason, they pulled it. But here now, you talk about a crazy thing. I had him on a 3-day run for dark matches at WWE shows in Chicago, Milwaukee, and Indianapolis. And in Indianapolis, Kevin Nash thought that he was already signed to the main roster, right? When he saw him work. And I said, no, I'm developmental. I'll tell you a funny story about calling things on the fly. Like you, I teach that. Now, what they do once they leave me is up to them and the guy they work for. But they better know how to call a match on the fly, because I don't lay nothing out in the back except the finish. That's the end of it right there. So Race knew, I forget who he was going to do the dark match with in Indianapolis. So he was dressed, ready to go. They hadn't worked out a match, right? They knew what the finish was supposed to be. And then all of a sudden, we may not have time. Okay. So I'm watching the monitor, and Teddy Long comes to me and said, where's Race? And I said, the back, I guess. Why? They're on next. I said, what? He said, oh, we got to find him. So we're both running around looking for Race, and Slaughter found him. And as I'm going down, he's coming up the hallway, lacing a boot. He's got one already laced, right? And the other guy that he's working with, I can't remember the kid's name, is like in a panic. We don't have anything laid out. We're going to do. Ray said, I'll call it on the ring.
Nice.
And that's exactly what he did. And that scored points with the guys who meant something in the dressing room, right? Like Dean Malenko and Nash and those guys, right? So, well, you know, and I say too, here's the thing. Even if everything is laid out in the back, human beings make mistakes, right? You better know how to change shit up, or you're in trouble, brother. Well, you must see it too. Little tiny thing, like you see them blow a spot. They don't know what the hell to do from that. They don't know how to get away from it, cover it up, and come back to it. They stand there with a thumb up their ass and we'll punch each other to death. Okay, that's a good move.
Well, I don't know if you watch AEW at all, but I don't know how
I'm afraid that I do. Yes.
I don't know how they memorize all those 20-minute matches with 9,000 spots. I wouldn't be able to memorize all that stuff, because I'm pretty sure they're not calling it out there the way they go from.
Well, I know some of the guys that can, you know, but do they or not? I don't know. Well, you know, when we first got to WWE developmental, I put Lance Cade with one of my guys in tag team, right?
He was really good.
The end of the first week, my guy comes in and says, I don't want to be his partner anymore. I said, why? He said, he panics. I tell him we're going to call it on the ring, and he, oh no, we got to lay it out back here, right? A year later, when we were leaving the company, right, and they were going down to OVW or wherever, we did our TVs in OVW, and Lance worked with that with my champion that night, the last TV we did down there. And when he came back, he walked up to me and he smiled. He said, we called it all in the ring. So he saw the value in it too, right? But you got to know how to make changes. You know, let me ask you guys this. And this is something I talk to young guys about, and they look at me like I'm nuts, or they don't understand. I'm a big reader of detective novels and stuff, right? But the book is to be it's got to tell a story. It's got to capture you to make you want to stay in the story. The characters have to be rich, right? If I'm a movie or a TV show that I'm hooked on, is because the characters, the story, and the actors belong in the part they're playing. They're not being somebody they're not, right? How is that so fucking hard to understand? And the wrestling business should be the same goddamn way. Am I right? Huh?
Les, you're talking like me out there. What the
Oh,
hell's the matter with you? You're the gentleman.
I could match you and Cornette both verbally. I just try not to. I'm too old. I'm supposed to be the voice of reason, but I'm not sure what the reason is.
It's like I was such, quote, an asshole. When I was teaching OVW, nobody ever told me what to teach anybody. Nothing.
No.
So I started, they said, well, this guy's going to be a babyface. And then they would bring him up as a heel, right? And vice versa. So I said, hey, excuse me, I'm teaching all you motherfuckers everything now. So I said, they're going to test you when you get there.
Sure.
And that's the way it is.
But you're going to be able to adjust, right?
And I'm going to teach you. I said, hey, it's all bullshit. You're going to have a 7-minute match. And I said, you're going to walk through the goddamn curtain. They're going to say, you got 3 minutes.
Right.
So all that shit you laid out, you're going to have to learn to work.
Yes.
Learn to work. And then once you get away from me, forget everything I fucking told you, unless the ring breaks down or whatever. And then you just do as you're goddamn told. Because if the boss says do this, and this, and that's it, do what the boss says. Nothing else goddamn fucking matters.
You know what? Benoit told me a story one time, and I won't mention the guy I worked with because I hate throwing anybody under the bus that maybe doesn't deserve it. But anyway, he was working a pay-per-view with some guy, and the guy walks up to him, that day with 2 or 3 typewritten pages and hands them to him. Chris says, "What's this?" He said, "That's our match." Chris said, "No, it's your match." Hands him back the papers. He said, "I can't memorize all that crap. You call the match." So I said, "Did he?" He said, "Oh, he started to." And I said, and he forgot all the shit he had written down, and I took over and called the damn match. And you know what Benoit called it? Was a hell of a match anyway. It was a broomstick, for Christ's sake. So yeah, all that. We were in a little gym over in North Carolina a few years ago. A guy had, and Ricky Morton, I'd heard Morton was there. I hadn't seen Morton in a while. And I went over there and we were working out with some guys. You probably know some of the guys we were working out with that work some of your shows. I'm trying to think who they were. Don't matter. But anyway, one of the guys was talking about, we overheard these 2 guys talking. And the one guy saying, well, I'm working with so-and-so in 2 weeks. And he's saying we should do this and do this and do that. And Ricky said, wait a minute. He said, you got a match 2 weeks away and you're now talking to, oh, he said, no, he wrote the match out. He said, what? Oh, he said, I got it here. Let me show it to you. Right. So it's got these typewritten pages. And the opening line is, we lock up. Well, thank God for telling me that. I wasn't sure I knew how to do that. Right. But anyway, he's reading that and I'm reading over his shoulder. And he said, somebody give me a pen. So Ricky took a pen, and at the bottom of this, where there was space at the bottom of the last page, he writes, "This is effing bullshit," right? And signed his name. I said, give me the pen. I signed my name too. Ricky said, now take us back to that jackass and tell him how to learn to work.
That's awesome. Hey, by the way, Rip, not surprisingly, Rip did not answer your question
about what?
One bit.
About what?
He was like, let me ask you a question. He went on about the storytelling, like a movie and that kind of stuff. And
well, you know what I use for example? Seriously, you both have seen Scarface, right? With Pacino.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'll say to a group of kids, who here has seen Scarface? And of course, all these. How many guys have seen it more than once? Why? What do you mean? Why? Well, why did you watch it more than once? You were captivated by it. Why? Good actors. They're playing they become the character that they're playing. The story is hot. It goes from Scarface's childhood to the big shootout at the end with the big pile of coke and the whole thing in the mansion. It's 2 hours long. How'd you watch? Wrestling fans can't watch you wrestle for 2 hours. How could you possibly watch that? Because it was good. And they can watch you for an hour or whatever it takes if you're doing it. Guys say people don't buy that anymore. I say they buy anything you know how to sell. Period. End story. Right?
Right. Yeah, I agree. Hey, you got any? Tell us a little bit about working with Jim Cornette at Smoky Mountain. How'd that come about? What was your role there? I think I heard you on another podcast. Weren't you announcing for him at that time?
I did color and play-by-play. When Dutch was with me, I was doing play-by-play, and he was doing the color. When JR was here, he was doing the play-by-play, and I was doing the color. That was a lot of fun working because that was the last of the actual things that acted like a territory. You know what? I've never had a problem working with Jimmy ever.
Yeah.
I tell you, I met Jimmy here for the first time in 1978 when the WFIA had a fan club convention, and he won Best Action Photo by a Fan. He and Eddie Gilbert were both here as fans in 1978. And he remembered sitting down with me and a couple other guys talking about angles and finishes and stuff. And so when he started Smoky, Tim Horner called me and said, Jimmy would like to, he said he remembers you talking about some of that stuff, and he would like you to come back and, do Smoky. At that time, I was still competing with MPC bodybuilding. And I was in the Mystics training for a contest. I said, you don't want me down there right now. Why? I said, because I eat every 3 hours, no matter what else is going on around me. And Jimmy's not going to want to shut down in the middle of a taping so I can have a meal. So that's how Bob Cottle started with him. And Dutch is a color man. And then Bob wanted to get out, and I took his place. I had a good time working with Jimmy. He always gave me respect. He never, might have been times he wanted to yell at me, but he never did, But yeah, it was talking some funny things that I remember when we did. You both have probably seen the Night of Legends, right? From
Smoky Mountain.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Is that I don't know that I've seen it.
No, you need to get it on and look at it. You'd like it. Yeah, it's a hall of induction in the Knoxville Hall of Fame with a bunch of guys. But the Funks are on the show. A bunch of top guys.
I've heard of it. I have not seen it.
First time JR and I'd ever sat down the microphone together. We had met, but we had never worked together. We were not close friends. We didn't know each other that well. And so at the break, we went to the back, get a drink of water, and whatever. Terry Funk came up to me and he said, I've been watching the show on the monitor back here. He said, you and JR are calling wrestling the way it's supposed to be called. I said, well, thanks, Terry. He said, how long you guys work together? And I looked at my watch and said, about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, bullshit, he said. I said, no. But you know what? That's the thing too. I've said, this year at the Hall of Fame, which I feel, God, that was to be there and to realize that my picture's going on the wall with guys like that is just amazing. But
congratulations.
Thank you. If you couldn't learn it, I worked with Bob Cottle, Gordon Soley, Lance Russell, Jim Ross. If I didn't know anything by this time, I'm never going. I've got to be the damn biggest fool in the world or the dumbest ass, one of the two, right? It's like the guys that we worked in the ring with back then, Rip, learning, right? I've told a lot of kids, they say, oh, you did jobs for this guy. I said, I did a lot of jobs, man. But you know what? You know what I learned from those jobs? When the Bruiser asked to work with me, I knew one thing. I was getting him over the way he needed to get over, and I was safe. I wasn't going to hurt him. One of the nicest compliments that I remember from back in the early 60s, we were Detroit TV, and Mark Lewin had been sick, and he had just come in the dressing room, just getting over whatever it was. He had flu or something. And Johnny Doyle, the promoter in Detroit, was there. And so he said to Johnny, he said, who am I working with tonight? And I don't remember who it was supposed to be, but Johnny told him somebody, and Mark kind of rolled his eyes, and he's looking around the dressing room. He said, let me work with Thatcher. It's the nicest compliment I could have had, right? because he knew, he's sick. I will take care of him and I will get him over. I said, guys, the only way I ever got my hand raised was by doing jobs the right way. You know, unless your daddy is a promoter or you're 7 feet tall, you don't go into this business getting your hand raised the first night. There's just no damn way.
Hey, let me ask you this question. What do you think? Maybe you didn't have a favorite, but between wrestling, announcing, and training, what did you enjoy the most of those?
Oh, God.
Did you like one better than the other?
You're asking me to make a choice between my son and my daughter, right? Right? Which one do you want to keep and which one do you want to give away?
Okay, which one do you like better, your son or your daughter? How about
Don't ask me that question. You will get me in trouble. No, you know what? I just love this fucking business.
Yeah.
You know, this is who I am. This is what I do. And I'm proud to say my fingerprints are on television, magazines, training, booking, promotion. And the only thing I haven't done well is get rich. And it's too late to start working on that. So I tell you what I do want to do. I want to do some camps with Rip.
There you go.
We got the chance to work together in Charlotte that one year.
Uh-huh.
That was fun. And every time my wife and my 14-year-old granddaughter would step into the room, I'd go and Rip, the family's here. Shh, watch your language. Then they'd leave and I'd say, Rip, they're gone. He'd say, motherfucker. Right?
Yeah.
And we'd go on.
Did you and Rip ever work together in any of the territories? Wrestle
No,
together?
we never have.
No.
But you know what? That's people say, well, you must know this guy, you know, but there were so many territories and you were, you know, you could pass it. Buddy Rogers was my childhood idol. I mean, I wanted to wrestle Buddy Rogers so bad I could taste it, right? And never got the opportunity to meet him.
Oh.
I've got a picture of him and I when I was 12 years old, right? Taken in Cincinnati Music Hall.
I got a picture with him. I was in New York City. I was at some fan club convention. All of a sudden, this guy yells at me, "Hey, Rip, come here. It's Buddy Rogers." I get my picture taken with Buddy fucking Rogers.
Yes.
Greatest match ever. Him, Pat O'Connor, 2 out of 3 fall match for the NWA heavyweight.
I use that as a training tool.
Everything makes sense.
Yes. You know, the thing too that I notice with kids, when you show that match and you see Pat doing that spinning arm bar that he does.
Oh my God, they go crazy.
Oh, they'll say, "Oh man, that's really." I said, "Well, use it because it'll be new now."
Anything
But they won't
new,
do it because
yeah.
you can't dive with it, right?
George Weingroff had that. He did that arm thing.
Yeah.
We dissected that 2 out of 3 fall match, and he would. The only thing, the one time Buddy Rogers cheap shotted O'Connor, and he adjusted his tights and didn't, and I got mad. Then the one time Buddy Rogers or O'Connor hooked it put his thumb in Buddy Rogers' mouth as he was selling the thing.
Right. Oh, you know, that's the other thing too. So many of these kids today, it's the details they have. Every time I see one of these young wrestlers knock another one, you know, they start to come back or whatever you want to call it, might be a heel, but one of them goes down and stays down, and the guy is up, turns his back and starts praying. And I always think of Harley, because Harley told, when we were doing camps together, he and I and Steamboat, some guy do that on a practice match, and he'd say, "You know, if you'd have done that on me, what would have happened? When you turned back around, I'd have knocked you on your ass, because that's the most you can insult me, because you're turning your back. Makes you say I'm nothing." And but now they turn their back. Or the other thing is, I knock you down, and instead of covering you, I go over and sit in the corner and get in this position, waiting for you to get up. I think, God, I wish I could be in some real fights, and the guy walked off and gave me time to get up, right?
Yeah.
Where the hell?
Okay, hey, we got so much shit going on here that we didn't even get started with you. I got on deck. I got the great Dave Marquez. He's coming on in about 1 minute.
Great. Who told you Dave was great?
Yeah, I'm going to have to get rid of your ass and bring Dave in. So he can.
I've had enough of your ass today too.
So, but I'm going to have to bring you back, because we haven't even started.
No, I want to come back. I enjoy
We
talking
didn't
to you
do
guys.
we
I
didn't do FA. Fuck all. We just
Tell-
talked
Has
shit.
Ace, did you tell Ace I said hello? No. You old
I'm
guys
trying to-
you don't have memory worth of shit, Rick.
Yeah,
I don't have memory, and I got mixed up because you contacted me on 3 like social media things, and I can't. But if I find one, I'm lucky. I'm a total idiot with this shit.
We'll definitely have you back on sometime. Really appreciate you
I
coming
would
on.
appreciate you guys.
I'm glad you figured out StreamYard. It was an honor.
No,
for you to-
fantastic. We talked some shit. It was great. I was like a little kid in a candy store. I talked a little bit now, but I was basically sitting there
you
picking.
say the same thing every time.
Damn it. I'm a Rip Rogers fan, so I was excited about this too. But listen, tell Marquez I said hello, and I enjoyed with you guys anytime, man. Anytime you want to go, just give me a shout and we will get it done. And if I don't talk to you before, you guys have a great holiday season. God bless you both. And let's do it again, okay?
Don't worry, we be going to.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. Really.
Thanks a
right,
lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care. Hey, have a
All
good
right.
one.
Thanks, Les. Have a great day.
You got to go get your son.
Where's he at?
Give the big intro, man. I'm at the front door.
Oh, I can't hear him. I didn't hear him. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, there's Dave. Can you hear me, Dave?
I can. How are you?
Oh, okay. Anyway, we've been going 100 miles an hour, as you can tell. We had an hour, then we had less on an hour, boom. And I said, you're going to be popping in here any minute. And then your prodigal son's going to be walking in a minute because he texts Von Lidas here at the studios. He's going down to let him in. So I've had the coffee, so I'm dancing, got to pee my pants so much. So we've been talking shit, doing whatever. So plug whatever you want, plug your network, plug what's going to happen, what could have happened, plug all the shit and all the shit you've goddamn done. And then when we got something coming up, anytime you're going to have a big show or whatever, or you're always invited to come in to get on here and plug anything you want to goddamn plug.
Awesome.
So,
I can't wait.
So you're still on here now. He's got to change the thing because he's the technical man. Father of the year, Von Lidas is. So it says Rip Rogers and Von Lidas, and you're on the thing here. It still says Les Thatcher before we switch.
I see that. I heard Les before, and we're still on. By the way, the people can still see us.
Oh, okay, yeah. So this is the greatest thing I've done today. So yeah, I've already been to the gym today, doing this or that. I think your kayfabe son's coming in here. I hear him coming in. Yeah, Dave's just on here. He just popped on, but we still got the thing that says Les Thatcher because we come in and out. So anyway,
how do we change that?
I don't know. Vaughn can hear. What's he doing?
He'll be up here in a minute. He's making me a coffee.
Fuck! I forgot the Coke, and he goes to make me a coffee. I had no snacks to do anything. I've been dancing here. Got to pee.
How long you guys been talking?
We just started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, no. Well, I started at noon, and then at 1, Les come on, and then Les was on till about 2 minutes ago, and then we talked all the time, talking shit, reliving memories, this and that, plugging all this and that. And I said, "Fuck, we didn't even start. We didn't even do what we was going to do."
Oh. So what's up, Dave? Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Good. Good. What you guys talking about?
We haven't started.
Okay.
No, we just got here. No, he come on about 2 minutes ago.
Okay.
Is
this thing on?
Is this thing on? Yeah, he's talking. It's all right. Yeah, we're live. Well, Wrestling with Rip Rogers live, but it says Les Thatcher, even though it's not. So
what's new, Dave?
What's new? We're getting ready to, start taping again out here in LA. We're going to do a dual show coming up on the 14th of January, trying to get everything back together. It's been a tough couple of months, but, we survive.
Yeah. Hey, that belt looked nice.
Thanks. It's the same belt that we have. It's just we had the other logo on it,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you want to talk about that or not, because it seems like you wanted to. Based off your post.
No, it's just that everybody has an opinion, and
Yeah.
people don't know how long we were talking to the network and what exactly was going down. And I completely understand why they went with the WWE. I would have too. And for those watching who don't know what I'm talking about, I was on the 1 yard line to have a network, the television show with the CW network. And then right at the last minute, some corporate people at Nexstar, who owns the CW network, had a connection to WWE, and now NXT has that. And our budget that we put together for our show, which would have been very nice for all of us. But I completely understand and respect why they went with the WWE. I would have made the same decision.
Well, I wouldn't, because I would have been stupid, and I'm into loyalty more than anything.
I get it. But they have shareholders, and it's a big business. They need ratings. They need advertising. Our show, I think, would have done really well for them, but not as well as a WWE branded show.
Well, I ain't going to put them over. Excuse me. Screw them. And I usually say fuck them. As a matter of fact, I will say fuck them. Von Lilas is back here.
Lilas is back, baby.
Can
we
back.
put his name on there?
Yeah.
Why don't you do it, man?
Yeah, I'm Mr. Technology. Hell, I don't know how to do none of that shit.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it either.
We're just here for the hot babes that are needing studs and whatever, this and that. Oh, there, right there. It don't get any better than that.
Look at that, just like TV.
Yeah, so have him start getting himself over.
You're not in it.
The camera.
Rip to scoot over.
Well, I gotta pee. I gotta go pee. I ain't peed in 2 hours.
This way. No, you gotta go that way. Okay. What do you mean this way?
This will be the most professional show you're ever on.
Today. At least at this hour.
Is Rip leaving?
I don't know where Rip's going. We got a live show going on. Rip just cuts out. How's it going today?
Things are great.
Thanks for coming on here. I thought Dylan and Rip had all these questions lined up, and
he asked me today. He asked me today at the gym, "Hey, Dave's going to be on the show. You want to come?" I'm like, "Sure." I'll come talk.
Now these guys always call you Dave, but I hear everybody else, including yourself, call you David. Is it? Do you go by Dave or David? Let's get this straight right now.
I go by David, but everybody calls me Dave, and
Dave.
yeah. People who really know me call me Dave or Uncle Dave. That's a common thing, but no, I try to go by David. I try to be as professional as possible.
So give me the backstory on you and Wonder Boy here, Dylan Bostic. How'd you guys ever meet in the first place? Do you remember?
I do. I think we were in Dallas. And
no, I kayfabed you in Dallas.
You sure the hell did. But yeah. I met you, and I actually talked to Rachel that.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Dave's gone.
Uh-oh.
Come back, Dave.
Where'd he go?
Oh, there you are. Now you're back.
Here we go.
There you are.
Here we go.
I think my ear things died. But I actually talked to Rachel that day, and I think there was it was WrestleMania or something, and it was a tryout or something was going on, and I was there for some reason. I remember Dylan standing out, and I went up to say hi to him, and he just fuck you, and then I'm pretty sure Rachel came by, not apologizing, but she was like, "Hey, how are you?" And then she had a conversation with me, and then Dylan did all fuck all wherever the fuck he went. And it wasn't until a few years later where I believe, where did we actually meet up? And
no, the story was, so we talked a little bit on Facebook or something, I think, before this, but I moved out there actually for a job. And I just remember you messaged me one day and you said, "Hey, when are you going to be out my way?" And I was looking around like, someone like follow me, see me. I was like, "How do you know?" And I go, "I just moved out here actually." And you're like, "All right, be at TV Sunday." Like,
that's right.
Yeah. That's literally how we first started talking. Yeah.
And then right after that, he moved out here, and then I have a back house behind me, and I rented to him, and he was roommates with Peter Avalon and Billy Trask, who is now the director of the NWA Power and pay-per-views. Back then, he was a technical director on my United Wrestling Network programs, and I had this little odd band of wrestling people in my backyard in the house, and and that was an adventure every single day. And I'd wake up in the morning to more than likely Rachel sitting in my living room waiting for me to make coffee for her. So, and then I would hear all the great, wonderful world of Bostic land.
All right.
Oh, I'm sure it was great.
It was something at that point, wasn't it?
Oh man, those were the days.
They were. But at any rate, I brought him in to the show, saw a lot of potential. I created a tag team with him, a guy by the name of Dan Joseph and Flex McCallion, or Coach Flex. And I turned them into the Pac 3, like the football conference, the Pac conference, and they were a sports team, and Dylan was like the quarterback. And we had Flex on the sidelines for television with a headset on, covering his mouth, calling the plays up to the top and back and forth. And it made for real fun TV.
Oh yeah, it was a blast. Shout out Flex. Sure. You guys are talking about me.
Oh, I'm sure. He's a character, man. He is a gimmick.
Yeah, that's for
truest definition of gimmick in today's wrestling is Flex.
We need Rip around Flex. He would get a kick out of Flex. I've had Flex on the phone, on speakerphone with Rip listening a few times, and like he, knew Rip was on the phone, so he wasn't fully Flex. I'm like, come, and I kept like poking the bear, trying to get him to start, doing his normal thing. He wouldn't do it. I was like, watch out. I kept elbowing Rip, watch, I'll get him going, but he never did it.
Full on gimmick, full on.
Well, you could tell Flex was mentally deranged, and he's a half inch from jumping off the Brooklyn Bridge. You can tell that.
Yeah.
Well, I've tried my best for over a decade to keep him planted, so hopefully he's around a little while longer. He just came back from overseas, not wrestling, pleasure, but I'm happy that he gets to explore and let his mind wander.
Yeah. Flex doing porn again?
He doesn't know. That's the best part.
Hey, if you're one of the boys, you're in.
Yeah. Anyway,
you got the confidence to do anything.
Oh,
hell, I got my two sons on here.
I ain't a son.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's the stepson. Oh, jeez.
Maybe since I can't get you guys to move over, I'll just move the camera.
Yeah, well,
you guys look good. I see it.
There we go.
You're just
So what about Rip? What was your first encounter with Rip? Did Dylan hook you and Rip up, or how'd that come about?
No. Actually, the first time I met Rip, I believe, was at the Louisville Gardens for an OVW Saturday night special, maybe. I was there as a photographer, a video camera operator for. Do you remember Al Isaacs? He had the Scoops website. It was a sheet, but Al he was trying to take Scoops from as a website to being like a Entertainment Tonight of wrestling, and part of shooting different packages. I was located in Springfield, Missouri at the time, working with Harley Race at World Legion Wrestling. Now it's called World League Wrestling. I started that, brought Harley in, brought Gordon Soley in to be a part of that broadcast in the mid-ish 90s. And so Al got a hold of me through someone else because I was in television, and we drove to Louisville and we did the interview with Jim. And of course, Rip was running around just putting stuff together and doing things. And then I want to say it might have been a conference call. So when I came back to California in 99, I started working with Rick Bassman in UPW when Cena was coming in. And I was directing and producing their local television here in Los Angeles. And I want to say we were on like a speaker call or something, and Jim was on the line. I don't think Les was, but I know Les was coming around that time because I was listening to Les's interview before I came on. And then Bassman, myself, and you may have said a word or two in the background, Rip, so I remember that. But actually meeting Rip, Dylan introduced me over the phone. And then I had to call Rip because of Dylan one night, because of a situation that went down, to make sure life was still breathing. And so the closest thing I had, I got a hold of Rip, and I knew Rip was close to him. And that's how we became more friendly. And then luckily been able to work with him over the last close to a year developing the new Derby City Wrestling in Louisville. And Rip is a big part of that.
I got my Derby City shirt on right now.
I see that. That's going to be a collector's item soon.
I've had it on all week, so what the hell, right?
Yeah, he actually has. He goes to the gym with me every day, and he's had that shirt on all week.
I can smell it.
I bet.
Yeah, the situation was the car wreck, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, that was bad. So I had were you in Florida?
Yeah, I was in Florida.
Yeah. So that's kind of how Rip and I started talking more on a regular basis, and now we can't stop sending each other memes and and all the best that the internet has to offer on by the minute.
Yeah. I'm trying not to go too far over the edge of how I really am. You probably got about 35% of me of what I've been doing because I'm totally out there.
Yeah. You've sent me some good ones.
His new thing is he sends me Instagram reels, and I'm like, I'm not sure he knows how he's doing that. I was like, I think this is an accident.
I'm getting those too, and they're awesome.
Yeah, no, I send them, but what I'll do is I'll say, I think this might be a little bit too heavy for Dave, so I better skip it. Dylan, no, he's first run. He's just say, that's just the norm. It's the norm for him.
Yeah, I can't be offended by anything. I'm 50 years old. I've been around. I've seen it, heard it, been in wrestling over 30 years. You can't.
You're a young 50, man.
Thank you. Don't let the haircut fool you.
Yeah. I got a couple things here in the chat here. Scott Woodford's happy Friday, everybody, with the little super chat. Then our guys over at Kill City Cup. I don't know if you've ever saw the movie Kill City Cup, but me and Rip did a review of the entire movie live, almost an hour. Rip fell asleep 3 times, and that's no shit. He really did. Kill City Cup loves David Marquez Productions. Come to the dark side.
Yeah, we love Kill City Cup. They're actually sponsoring our programming right now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they bought some commercial time in there, so appreciate that.
Nice. Well, thanks for the show donation here. And then we got a nice one here for Pizza Time. It says, hello, I'm Zach. I'm currently 17. I love the business that's got me through so much. So young. I want to make guys like you proud. Any advice for a kid who needs to train and get into wrestling? Somebody help this poor kid out. Thanks for $9.99 Pizza Time.
If you love it, go after it. Find a credible trainer. Learn it as best you can. And everyone's going to have an opinion, and everyone's going to have the right way. And this is about television and media now. So, just be aesthetically minded for the camera and be producible.
What about you boys? Give that young kid some advice, Rip. Come on.
In other words, don't be skinny fat. Don't be fat. Be as jacked as you can, because they can always teach you to work. But this is it's like looking at girls. You want to see tits and ass. Looking at a guy, you want to see some muscles, some abs. I don't care if he can wrestle or not. We can teach you how to wrestle. But to go out there and to get that body and to diet, and 99.9 will be on the shit anyway. So that's up to you. But I'm still here because I ain't on the shit, and I ain't getting on the shit. But anyway, Dave's seen it all. So you ain't going to pull, it ain't his first county fair, kids. So you ain't going to pull nothing over his eyes. So
where do you live, Pizza Time? Maybe we can help you at the training school. Speaking of how people look, Rip, Buckshot Kid says, with the 4 of you, Rip looks the most in shape. We might just have to ban Buckshot Kid from the chat room here.
You don't realize you're 6'5" and about 250 pounds. And
well, that doesn't mean I'm in shape.
Well, I'm telling you, you're in fucking shape.
Dylan's trying to flex now.
I might have to.
Massachusetts. I don't know any schools out there. Anybody know any schools around Massachusetts? I can't even say the damn state.
What's
Chaotic
over there?
Wrestling has one.
Chaotic, yeah.
But it's Chaotic Wrestling would be where I tell you to go. They have a really good school. I know a lot of guys that came out of there that were good.
Were they pervs?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, that's a good place to recommend.
So-
Hey, you gotta be a little bit out there to be in the pro wrestling business.
Not as much these days, but yeah, still a little bit maybe.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
wish
how
there
did
were.
you get your start in wrestling? I don't know. Did they cover that when I was not here? How did you ever
No,
get in?
it's real interesting to me. I never wanted to be in wrestling. Most people, I love wrestling. I grew up watching wrestling. I wanted to be an animator. I wanted to work for Disney. I wanted to make, Fantasia, these feature-length cartoons. And when about the mid to late 80s, when computers were becoming more of a thing, I remember watching a Hanna-Barbera special with Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera on TV themselves, and they were in their late 70s at that time, I want to say. And they were talking about computers, and like they had vast knowledge about computers. Now I know they were reading a script and they had no idea what the hell they were talking about. But at the time, it really pushed me away from drawing. And I was like, well, you didn't have to know how to draw or anything, that these computers did everything. So I wanted a television. But prior to all that, when I was a kid, I grew up in LA. So the Olympic Auditorium was my location. My grandparents actually, they ran concessions at the Olympic. So I was always down there. I always saw wrestling. I saw boxing, roller derby, punk rock concerts, like all that stuff. I did not know Mrs. Eaton, but I did get to know Jean LaBelle very well. I met Mike LaBelle a few times too. And so seeing the cameras and the show being put together, I was once in a spot I wasn't supposed to be in, and Fred Blassie tore me open pretty good. I was probably 8 to 10 years old. And I would just follow the TV cables everywhere to see where they led. And so, of course, you get to the back of the building and everybody's standing there on the show, heel, baby, whatever. And then I started watching the television here on KTLA Los Angeles or KMEX, the Spanish channel, because it would always fluctuate between the two, who was carrying it that week, it seemed. But I started understanding the storytelling side of pro wrestling, and that wrestlers were very much like cartoon characters, and that you can create the persona and whatnot. And when you would, at least for me, I don't want to call myself advanced or anything like that, but if you look at a 7-minute segment on television, or even a 5-minute cartoon, a 5-minute match, each Looney Tune type cartoon that was on TV every day after school at 2 or 3 o'clock, they put 5 or 4 of those 7-minute cartoons in an hour. And I was like, oh, that's just like wrestling. You have 5 or 6 minutes, and you have Bugs Bunny being what he is, a little docile character playing a banjo. Here comes the heavy chases him, the fight starts, babyface on top. It's virtually the same thing. And so once I got into television myself and news, I just ended up in Springfield, Missouri, in the mid '90s, working for an NBC station, and that's really how it all started for me as a producer. I got to local time only because I opened my mouth and said, "Let's do a local studio show," and I really didn't know what I was doing. But luckily, from California days, a man by the name of Carl Lauer, he was a promoter at the Olympic, mostly lucha, and he lived in Rolla, Missouri. And I was out on a story once at the mall, and he was there signing autographs with some other people. This would have been maybe 96, 7, and probably 96. But he was there in a hood, and he was signing autographs too. And I didn't understand why when he took the hood off, because I was like, oh, Carl. And I remembered him as being a kid. So we had a small conversation, and Carl had a traditional shyster type voice, which I loved. And so he was like, hey, kid, if you ever wanted to get involved and do your thing, I have a license to run here in Missouri. And anyhow, he was also the head of the Cauliflower Alley Club for many years, with Luthez or Archie Moore and whatnot. And he encouraged me to go to a cauliflower meeting, and I did. And that day, I just happened to be sitting at a bar in a hotel where this convention was being held, and like across from me was Killer Kowalski and all these great people. Freddie Blassie was there, so it was great to catch up with him. But Gordon Soley ended up sitting right next to me, and of course, we all know who Gordon was, and we just started talking, and I told him I was a television director for news and sports, and we're getting ready to do a local wrestling show in Springfield, Missouri, and he just, with his napkin under his drink, because he was fond of his drinks, he wiped the ash away from the table and handed me his pen. And he said, if you were to draw a TV studio arena, where would you place the cameras? And knowing that I had already seen the Olympic Auditorium set up and understood television production, I just drew out where I thought the ring would be and where the people would be and where the desk would be and where the cameras would go. And he goes, oh, that's good. And then he says, do you have an announcer? And I said, no, we haven't even got, I don't even think we have a date yet to shoot. And he goes, well, if you consider me, I'd be happy to do it for you. And Gordon Soley was our announcer. He passed away while we were doing the show later on, and he was a partner in the promotion. And then also that week, Harley, the first time I met Harley, was he was walking, him and Jack Briscoe were walking down the hall, and they had long necks, just armfuls of long necks walking down a hotel hall. And I was, I guess, spunky enough that I just jumped in Harley's face and said, hi, I'm doing this thing and blah, blah, blah. And it's in Springfield. I know you're in Kansas City. I'd love for you to be involved, whatever. And I knew these guys had heard and seen everything, and he really didn't believe me. Gordon, at the same time, walked across the same area. And as a joke, I guess, Harley says, if you can get that guy to say yes, I'll say yes too. And I already had him. So, and Harley didn't know that.
That's awesome.
So once Harley, I said, well, great, he's already on board, so we'll see you in Springfield at some point, whatever. So way back then, we started this thing called World Legion Wrestling, and then I sold out in '99 to come back to LA to him and BJ Ray, his wife.
Oh wow! Quite an entrance there to the business.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's pretty good learning tree, that's for sure.
I mean,
what year was that when in Springfield?
It would have been 90, 95, 96, 97, 98, early 99. So the TV didn't start until maybe 96.
Okay, because I was working for Bob Geigel. I was one of his bookers in 1986, and I said, "Well, I'll be the booker, but I ain't firing nobody." And I said, the first hot check you give me, I'm out of here.
Yeah, and so then go ahead.
Thanksgiving night, he ran out the door with the money, and so the next day I was supposed to meet him to go somewhere. He says, "Where you at?" I said, "I'm on my way home." He goes, "What?" I said, "I told you, you give me a hot check, my ass ain't going to be there." So I just left in the middle of the night, because I lived in Indiana, and just drove home after that. So, but
yeah, I met Geigel twice, 3 times. The first 2 were fun interactions, and then at the Cauliflower a few times, but we weren't too talkative. But the third time I had to deal with him was we were trying to get NWA paperwork back out of him. Howard Brody, Bob Trovich, and Bill Behrens and us, when we were doing the NWA thing around that time. I think Ed Schumann was involved in that too, out of Chicago. Bob still had all this paperwork that we needed, and he refused to give it to us. I still don't think we ever got it.
When I was out there, he changed it to WWA or whatever it was. He had the same old guy, Rufus and Bulldog, all the top stars. And but Springfield used to be a big town for them. They didn't have the market there anymore, I remember. So it was a shoestring budget, but what the hell, right?
Yeah, Harley used to tell me that. So when we started building our TV, we basically used that all-star wrestling route of the TV. So we were, I think the lowest we were was Quincy, Illinois, I think.
Yeah, I worked in Quincy for.
Yeah, so Quincy, and we went all the way down to Arkansas, maybe over to Tennessee a little bit on the TV. But we had Hannibal, Columbia, St. Joe, St. Louis. We were on a very tiny station in St. Louis. Even Harley Race couldn't get us on KPLR.
Yeah.
And we may have had a little tiny TV in Kansas City at that time too, in Joplin. But yeah, and then we would do these great little shows, and the people that came out of there were pretty good talents. The biggest names probably original guys that came out of there were Trevor Murdoch, and John Cone, the referee, who now is a big shot executive at WWE. So Johnny Cone was our referee, the Kansas City Donut King himself.
So then you went back to California and get started back in other stuff there then, or what?
Yeah, when I came back here to LA, I thought I was done with wrestling. And I really wanted to pursue other things in show business. I thought I'd go back into television, news, whatnot, being the number 2 market in the country, but it was a little more difficult to get a job out here than I thought, because back then you still had to, no matter how long I had been doing it, now you're in the number 2 market in America, and it was very difficult to get a job because everything here is owned by the studios or now corporate media companies. So like Disney owns ABC, Comcast. Back then, though, General Electric owned NBC. Westinghouse, I believe, owned CBS, stuff like that. So it was very difficult to get in.
I don't mean to be rude, but I have to go get my kids off the bus.
Go.
That was my alarm. So,
and when it came to a job, my very first job I ever had, I was a Disneyland tour guide. So I went back to Disney, and I ended up in guest relations and broadcast services just to have a job. Hey, look at you. And being in Orange County versus Los Angeles, Terry Taylor gave me a ring, and he told me about UPW in Santa Ana, which is about 15 minutes from Disneyland. And I was down there anyway, so I went down and interviewed with Rick Bassman, and Terry Taylor, and I believe Bruce Pritchard helped set that up. And I was their in-house video guy for a couple of years while still having a real job at Disney.
So when did the Hollywood transition start? Hollywood wrestling?
Well, that didn't happen until much later. So UPW was like 99, 2000, 2001. Then I started directing the XPW show, which was its own headache and mess because it wasn't wrestling like I knew.
XPW?
I don't know.
You should rip some tapes.
You should.
Yeah.
So in order to get paid at XPW, we had to edit porn on top of it to get paid, which I didn't know when I got there. Well, it wasn't the most likable porn. It was pretty disgusting. My series that I was on was called Fossil Fuckers.
Okay, I like that.
And
they're thinking, oh, it's disgusting. I like it.
Yeah.
on top of other stuff. But so I did that for a little while. And then I somehow, some way, I still don't know how this happened. I ended up at New Japan Pro Wrestling for 5 years as the vice president of what they called the international division, which was everything outside of Japan. And it was so weird and segregated. So I was in LA running the LA dojo, but I had like Brad Riggins to kind of work with, but I never really worked with him. And then Tiger Hattori in New York, who I didn't interact with, but we were all part of the same team,
Now, he's a referee. He was a referee for how long there?
Oh, forever.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's still a something there. And then I worked for Inoki directly, and Simon, so his son-in-law at the time. But for Mr. Inoki,
He came over to your house a few times when I was living
yeah. And I had a great relationship with Simon. The office in Japan absolutely hated me because I tried changing their way of doing stuff. Their traditional ways of pro wrestling would not work in the 2000s United States. It just wasn't going to work. And so I opened the door and a flood of people came through, and virtually all of them are all millionaires working on big time TV. And all the people I worked with at UPW ended up with RIP too. They all ended up in OVW from Cena on, and I was very happy with what we got to do together. And getting into Hollywood, so at New Japan, I was their proxy to the NWA because Inoki was the member, and he had been forever. But 01 used the NWA letters over there because Inoki let him. But I was the one who they started sending to the meetings.
Mhm.
And one of the meetings, the California member of the NWA, I forget his name, something happened, and I believe something legal happened, and he couldn't make the meeting, so he couldn't pay his dues. And I remember Bob Trovich coming up to me. He was the attorney at the time. He was a long time NWA attorney too. He goes back to Crockett. He said, "Well, California is open. Do you want to personally be the, David Marquez be the member in California, because Inoki was the member in Japan?" And I said, "Well, why would I want to do that?" And he just whispered in my ear, he goes, "Then you'll have 2 votes." And I went, "Oh, okay." So Bob saw something in me, I guess. So I paid the money. And way back when, with Harley, I was a member of the NWA too. I bought Missouri from Ed Schumann, and Ed Schumann has passed since, but he was in Chicago, and he was partners with Reggie Parks on the belts. So you would call Ed Schumann would put the deal together. Reggie or Rico Mann would make the design, and then Reggie would make the belt back then with Dave Milliken too. But I bought the territory off of Ed for $500, and then Howard Brody kicked us out for. Why did Howard kick us out? He kicked us out over Dan Severn being the world champion, and Harley wanted to do something with the belt, and I don't know, something goofy happened. But we were kicked out. And then again, I rejoined them as NWA Pro Wrestling here in California. And then I started running arenas all over the world.
Yeah,
we did lots of arena shows. And I wish that business still existed, because those buildings would pay us great money to go in there. And that is what ended up. The show was called NWA Wrestling Showcase. And then we did a pilot for KTLA here in Los Angeles called NWA Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And then we were on the air, and that's how Hollywood started. And then in 2011 or 12, we lost the NWA to one of our members, and I was sued like crazy. A few of us were, and I lost the rights to the NWA name, and then it just became United Wrestling Network and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Awesome. So it's been Championship Wrestling from Hollywood for what, 11 years now?
No, 08.
08. So, okay. Longer than I thought.
Yeah, 08. Yeah. 07, 08 or 09 is when we started using that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you go back to the Olympic Auditorium, I remember Piper had a good run there. When I was in Oregon, he had me going in there sight unseen to be the top heel. And then Randy Savage called me. He says, "No, it's time for you to get back home. We're running every night now. Enough of your vacation." So that ended that. So I was just a big mark for the rest of the Los Angeles wrestling, because he had Johnny Red Shoes Dugan with the referee. And then every magazine was Mil Mascaras on the cover. And I thought he was God till I had to work with him.
People don't see him without the hood.
Right.
And I was sitting next to him on a plane for my show he was on. And I hadn't seen him without the hood. And
Right.
he gave me a little tickle, and I looked at him. I was like, why is this man, for the people, fuck it, I'll just say it. He looks like Hal Linden. If anybody knows Barney Miller, he looks like Hal Linden, a very handsome man. It's like, oh, why do you cover yourself up so much? But I know what you're talking about. Lots of people told me that. Harley hated working with him. Harley used to just go insane.
I mean, his big sell would be with the hood, so there's no facials. So he just goes, and that's it.
Yeah. But we did the MTV show with Wrestling Society X. We did, which apparently spawned a lot of what you see today. So I'm a part of that problem. From that perspective.
Thanks.
Good job.
You helped destroy the business. Thank you very much.
But Rip started for you.
And then we made those videotapes with Cena and all those guys in it, the wrestling training tapes that went fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
But apparently everybody had them, and that's why they're doing it today. So good or bad, my fingers have been in a lot of things.
Well, Von Lilas is coming back.
What, I need to save this thing?
Yeah, you need to save this thing.
Well, Dave, what's happening? You had all those now. You still do the Memphis thing?
Oh, sure, yeah. So Memphis is doing great. We just got back on WMC, so that's amazing. So it's back on Channel 5 there in Memphis. In Louisville, the Derby City show, we're working on bringing it back locally. But in the meantime, I'm creating modular broadcast with Championship Wrestling. So since we recognize all the same world titles, the angles that have to go with the tag titles or the singles championship or the women's title that we're going to be crowning, it's like 3 of those segments will be taken out, and Derby City segments, new segments, will be put in. We're just going to shoot it in LA right now because that's the resources we have. We have a studio here. We have a crew here. We have all that here. So we're going to bring some people out to LA just because it's more economical at the moment. We fell into, about springtime, an issue with our sponsor. And right now the lawyers are handling it. But it was unfortunate. And we weren't paid an awful lot of money. You heard Cornette going through it with his thing and a couple other folks out there. It's the same situation, sort of. So I had to stop production. It's the first time in 15 years that I had to stop cold and take a seat back. And we had to put best ofs on, and we got lots of new stations on in the region. So like Derby City was going to have its loop of stations that we are working on. Memphis has theirs. The stuff we had in Atlanta, I put Derby City on there, took the Championship Wrestling off. So things would be more regional. So if we went there live, it would be easier to get people around. But right now, as we speak, the United Wrestling Network is on about 120 to 130 stations across the country, all full power. So we're still in business with WDRB in Louisville, WDKY, Fox 56 in Lexington is going to start carrying Derby City next year. We're working on Ohio and Indianapolis right now. We made a great deal with Gray Broadcasting. This is all stuff that people don't know or care about, but they own TV stations, and they've put us on in lots of their markets. And then Australia TV, they're kind of like the CW of Spanish networks. I think they have about 60 or 70 affiliates across the country. They're going to put the show on in Spanish again for the first time in years. So going in on the 14th, we're going to do our first bilingual taping again. And it's going to be a little confusing because, you're going to see, if you're there live on tape, once it plays back on TV, no one's going to be any the wiser. But there, you'll see people wrestle a few times like the old days, and the backdrop will change a little bit where it's Derby City or it's Championship Wrestling. But it's all United Wrestling Network regardless. And, 20 plus years of doing this particular projects and the millions and millions and millions of dollars that have been put into it over the years, I'm not going to just take a knee because someone fucked me. We're just going to, lace it up a little tighter and hope everybody's willing to play. And on the 14th of January here in Los Angeles, do that taping and, get the year started off right.
We just need to know is how can do we have to mug somebody, kill somebody, or whatever to be
say that
or whatever to be with you guys. And are you sure Dylan didn't kill the TV because his match with the Pope was so violent?
No, not at all. We haven't even got to the violence.
Yeah, not yet.
No, we haven't even got to the violence. The stuff the Pope was telling me that he's going to do to Dylan, I wanted to see that so bad in that facility. And then the last, live event we had there, we had 900 people at the Norton Sports and Learning Center in Louisville, and they're great partners.
Yeah.
We had the city behind us, and
you had great pizza. You had great pizza there.
We did.
Great pizza. I'd get on Gilbert about everything. So
and donuts.
Oh hell yeah.
Now, did you know there was already a Derby City Wrestling in the past before you came up with the name Derby City Wrestling?
I did. In fact, I knew about it because of the developmental stuff at UPW and what Danny and Jim were doing in Louisville back then. And Gilbert Corsi and I, we went to Danny and we asked permission to use it. And he said yes. So
Danny didn't give a shit. That was me doing it.
That was you?
Yes. I ran Derby City.
You both are losing your mind because we had this conversation in Louisville that summer. We had the meeting. You guys already had this conversation.
Well, I can't remember.
So not only, I know you can't, but Dave's losing it too. What do you mean?
On the Derby City deal. He just said he had asked Danny's permission.
Asked Danny's permission.
No. I'm just saying that Rip already talked when we had lunch that one day, and Rip was like, "Oh yeah, that was me. I ran Derby City."
Yeah.
I forgot about that. But but Danny, when Danny was in town doing that Netflix interview, because he was there the same time I was there, and we met at that gas station pub. That's when Gilbert made that all happen, and we knew we were going to do Derby City.
I think now on this show, you need to get Rip's permission to use Derby City, the name Derby City Wrestling, to make it official.
He's got the shirt on.
Well, Dave said he said this is going to be an antique anyway, so I guess I should take it off and wipe my ass with it, or whatever the hell.
Yeah, but our goal is to get back to Louisville to do the live events there. But once we lost the sponsor, it really put us back. And for the first time, like I said, in 15 years, we've had bad times, but this was devastating. It shut us down. Me personally, out of my pocket, I had to start paying for things. Like, a lot of people don't realize what a promoter does and what responsibilities we really have. And our word is, that's the one thing. There's a lot of things I've taken away in life and within wrestling, but Harley really instilled in me. He was like, the one thing you have ever that will always be with you is your word and your handshake, and I try to live by that the best I can. I'm not perfect. No one is. And when I make a promise, I do everything I can to keep that promise, whether it takes a day or a year or a couple of years to make it happen. And I'm kind of stupid for that too, but that's what I try to live by, especially in wrestling and in broadcasting. It's all the same. It doesn't matter what decade it is. The talent's the talent, and they have their right to be selfish. They have their right to get what's owed to them. They have the right to ask for what they want to ask for. And as a promoter, I think I'm probably an exception to understanding that. Like, I've even stopped in my nomenclature coming up. We would use the term use. Like, I use Dylan Bostic. I stopped using that because it's negative. It's like, no, we hired Dylan Bustic. He's employed. You say used, it's just so negative.
I'm talking about that word on a podcast the other day, and they were saying the exact same thing. That
because it is, and the modern talent, they don't understand. Do you remember, Dylan, when we made that commercial? But you probably heard about it. We were doing like a red carpet rumble or something, and we had everybody on there. AJ was on there. We had all these guys and top names. I think Animal, Roddy Piper, like we had a lot of people there. But then I really wanted to add that we had female wrestling. And at the end of the spot, I said, and the girls. And the heat I got for saying,
oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
My entire female side, but maybe one talent, boycotted the show because I said, and the girls in a commercial. And we know that the girls has always been how they were represented for 100 years. So
you're a misogynist, Dave.
That's the word. That's right. That's the word they use.
I would just say,
I would say thank you.
I would just say, forget it. We ain't gonna use no girls ever again.
Yeah. So anyhow, growing up in late 70s, 80s, 90s pro wrestling, and still being relatively young right now, I had been stuck in this nomenclature world of how to use things and how to speak to modern talent, because you can't say stuff like that. And it's not like it's not like a canceling thing, or it's just respectful.
Oh no, it's cancellation.
Yeah, they go cancel. I said, "Oh, cancel this motherfucker." Shit.
You're talking about the people don't understand the things that promoters do. So the big thing on Twitter, I don't know, or X or whatever it's called now. I don't know if you've seen lately with the Matt Cordona tweet about the promoters should have water provided to the wrestlers at shows. And that thing is, there's all kinds of controversy and heat and everything about that. You got any comments on the water tweet, and should promoters provide water for wrestlers?
Well, I think it should be provided. Sure, I provide water and coffee and
pizza.
More. I tried my best to stop serving pizza. We tried having healthy shit back there. No one fucking ate it.
No, we don't want to eat that healthy shit.
Nobody ate any of it. Any of it. I spent so much money on food that we threw away. I was so fucking mad. But then we ordered the pizza and it's all gone.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I think the basics should be back there. Do I think you need to provide 3 square meals or anything like that? No. But, if you do what I do, like we have a long day. We start at sometimes 8 a.m. or the night before doing the lights.
Violin. Here's your goddamn violin. All the workers. No, stop to the store and get shit. Pack your own goddamn.
Well, no. This is coming from the guy that loves free shit.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But telling about the awesome pizza.
I know that, but that was like a rib.
That's for him, not for the wrestlers.
No. But like as an example, like when I in the Cauliflower Alley, because I didn't grow up during this time. Hey,
sport.
Sport's being the fool. The mailman's here. And so Dylan knows sport.
Oh yeah.
But
little fucker.
Going to the Cauliflower Alley Club, they had a thing called the Bologna Blowout.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't know what that meant because I didn't grow up during that time and being in cars and what. And Harley explained it to me that like you would get a big giant thing of bologna and you would either eat it straight with a knife or make sandwiches while you drive or whatever. And that was the food you had. But when you're making television, and you're asking people to be there all day and whatnot, yeah, you should supply them with something. If you're there for a few hours and your call time's 30 minutes before you go out, it's nice to have it. But I understand people who choose not to. It's just do I think it's a requirement? Not necessarily, but I mean it's the nice thing to do.
I mean, at OVW, Danny Davis always had us, a meal and water and everything else that you possibly wanted. He provided everything there every Wednesday night for TV, every house show we ever had. We had everything. Water fountain.
We had a water fountain at OVW.
We had nothing.
We had a water fountain. You didn't need anything. You have a water fountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, and it depends on where we're at. Like, we used to shoot at this theater for probably 7-8 years, and it was a full functioning theater. So there were water coolers and there were refrigerators, and we encouraged people to bring their own stuff who were on diets or whatever, but that kind of faded away. But yeah, no, I get it. I understand both sides. And wrestling today, I'm kind of out of the circle. Like, I'm like a modern old man promoter to some people now, old fashioned per se, and so I don't understand a lot of what happens. It is happening backstage at shows. Like, I would never put talents in an alley to dress. We did a show in Arizona for years that it killed me, the venue we were in, because at times it would spill out to the sidewalk the way the door was. Did you ever work there, Dylan, at that?
Desert Diamonds Casino?
No, that was nice.
Oh, I was gonna say I like Desert Diamond Casino.
No, that
not
was
the
nice.
other one, just
the one after that in Phoenix.
No, I never did that.
Yeah, so it was called the Mayan Theater, and so not the Mayan. It was some Egyptian theme. I can't remember what it is now. But the way that it was like an old punk rock a venue, and the hallway was the dressing area, which we built the television side of it and put all the switchers and stuff. But that's all we had as a dressing area. And so it would spill out into the street. And it was a really nice gentrified neighborhood. And there you have all these naked guys out there and people. Yeah. And it was just a mess. And I hated it. But it was successful. So we stayed there, of course.
I was going to say, those shows were good whenever you
moved
to that building.
Yeah. But, I see big shows considered what people consider big shows running constantly. And I just feel the accommodations could be a little nicer, and there's a reason why they're in those venues is because they're cheap. So, I don't know. I've done my best to be professional and put on the best thing that I can and air good stuff, good looking stuff. And sometimes it bites me in the ass when it comes to cost, because it does cost a lot. But I'm an entrepreneur, and just like the old workers, I'm just as equally as insane sometimes, and it's like, sure, let's put up that $40,000 light rig. It'll come back in commercials. It doesn't come back in commercials, but it looks good.
Yeah. Speaking of which, when we do start filming in Louisville again, is your plan to stay at the Norton Sports venue?
I hope so. We have to work some things out with them, and because we want to be on that side of town too.
Yeah.
Like that's important to the community. We're building a relationship with them, and it seems as if they're being pushed out of a lot. And Gilbert made a great effort with the Urban League to get us in there for a fair price. It's the same price whether we use one seat or all 9,000 seats.
Oh, okay.
So it's really good. It's just from the television production side, it's costly. It's very expensive. So going into Thunder Studios here in Los Angeles, we know the facility. They're great partners. We do our boxing, MMA with them. When we do remote work with United Wrestling Network, that's the production unit that we use out in the field. That truck, and it just adds up. So here we have the resources. We're going to do a little TV magic, CSI Miami type stuff, or Chicago Hope that's not shot in Chicago or Miami. So Derby City Wrestling will originate from Los Angeles for a little while with Derby City Faces, with the goal of going back to doing that. And hopefully with the people watching, they'll want us to come back. And, there'll be more people in there paid than we've had in the past. But that last one was 900. And I think the lowest attendance we had paid there was probably about 4 something.
Yeah, so I was surprised of how much we retain, because usually your first show somewhere, if you do really well, you should expect half the next time, and then it should just keep taper down one more show and then flatten out from there. And it seemed like we were up the whole time.
The ratings there were great. The station is great. WDRB, fantastic people. It helps that Gilbert's on TV every day, several times a day. Yeah. Smart. And the same thing in Memphis. Dustin Starr. If a butterfly goes by, it's the end of the world. But Dustin Starr in Memphis, he's on the NBA, he's on baseball. He does all those other things, and he's on television doing other things. His wife is in Maria. She's in community affairs for St. Jude's. So they're very big in the public in Memphis. So those faces too, they help make it legitimate and make it happen. Sometimes I feel, hey, relax. So, sometimes I feel bad for these higher profile people in the area like Gilbert and Maria and Dustin, because, if we do something goofy on wrestling, it kind of crosses over into their real job. And you have Gilbert on television talking about murder and rape and fires and catastrophes, and then we do something goofy on wrestling, and it's the same guy. So I feel really bad about that at times, but it's his choice. He decides to be in wrestling.
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys got anything else? We're in.
No. Stay here as long as he can stay here, and we can stay here, and your children, you can get along with that kids or whatever.
Go for it.
Okay.
I'm here. So just
okay.
HollywoodWrestling.com is where you can go to get tickets.
Plug your shit. Plug your shit, Dave. Plug your shit.
All right. So HollywoodWrestling.com, you can go there. It's on all the websites, but that's the one I remember the most. And tickets are on sale now. Scorpio Sky is going to be there doing a meet and greet. He's doing us a solid. He was on our show forever. And he's coming back to do some autographs to help us raise some cash so we can keep doing this thing. Tickets range between, I think, $15 to $50. That includes the meet and greet. The studio is amazing. It's a real television production soundstage. So if you've never been in one or been a part of studio wrestling, this is going to be pretty neat. LEDs, lights, the whole bit. If you saw Primetime Live, a show that we did during the pandemic, it's the same stage. So now we'll just be able to put people in there. So we're looking forward to working with everyone still. So the crew from Louisville, the people in Memphis, folks we have in Arizona and Nevada and Los Angeles, we're going to do our best. And now we have to figure out how to squeeze some lucha in there for Australia TV. So, and the show will be in Spanish. So it's an endeavor. You have a thing.
And do some lucha.
Hey, did Sean call you, by the way?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
You're going to get a call here.
Unless he didn't leave me a voicemail, because I never answer my phone unless I get a voicemail. So
okay, that's probably he'll call you.
Okay.
But anyways, that's what's up, and we haven't forgot about anybody, and TV stations and whatnot. They're they still take our call. So that's what is the real measuring stick.
Yeah. Now, my one question for you, this is, what I was going to ask you personally anyway. So with the programs that we had working in Derby City and Louisville, are you going to keep those same things going in Hollywood with a new audience, or how are you going to work around that?
No, we're going to bring it over here. So my goal is only to be here for 3 or 4 months. I want to be back in Louisville by summer.
Gotcha.
That's a goal. But we have to sell advertising there. We have all the stuff that I'm always bitching about that we can't get.
Yeah.
But yes, all the stories will continue. I'm hoping that the same crew can come out here starting in February. So the producers and agents that we've been using, A Steel, Rip, get them out to LA and work with the crew here. That's all part of what we're going to try to do. So we have to continue it that way. And so as an example, we've distinguished West Coast for at least this first show in January, who's considered a Louisville talent and who's a Hollywood talent, as an example. So like Peter Avalon is a Louisville talent, but he's here.
Right.
Willie Mack is a Louisville talent. He's here. We've been working loosely with Booker T. So he's asked us to use Will Allday as his Texas champion, which I'm happy to do. So Will Allday will be here, but on the Louisville show. So that in some markets, Derby City and Championship Wrestling run back to back. So those segments will be in the interview area, will be different enough that hopefully the fans won't mind that the main is the same main on both programs. And for a couple of months, that's what we're going to have to do to survive.
Awesome. Well, at least you have a game plan and you figured it out.
We figured it out. Let's hope it works.
Hey, if you hit the Powerball, just don't forget the 3 buddies you got on Wrestling with Rip Rogers show right now.
Hey, listen.
I'll be 70.
Did you buy a ticket? It's at 535 million. That's like 250.
I'll be
260.
70-year-olds. I'll be 70 in February if I make it there.
I was gonna say.
So I got to have as much fun as I can now because I'm gonna croak pretty soon.
Well, listen, I thought I was going to lose you when I saw your leg. You're still here, so we're good.
Oh, you should see it.
I don't want to see it.
Good rib.
But I'm trying to find the budget. I had it around here. So like the CW budget, just as an example, we had that thing. If we did 52 weeks, it would have been over 30 million a year for us to do what we do, and we know how to do it with what we have now, which is nowhere near $30 million. And so don't worry. My whole plan was to take care of people and make sure this works the right way. We would have that national show on the CW and then all the regional shows that we're doing now. And we were there. I keep saying the 1 yard line, and somehow, some way, Lucy came out, and I was Charlie Brown and flat on my ass. So,
we scored the touchdown, and then they took it away.
That's what I'm saying.
We weren't on the 1 yard line. We scored the touchdown.
Well, that's true. We did have we did have the deal. That's true. But I feel like the kite ate the tree ate the kite and count Charlie Brown. It's just like. Every Charlie Brown moment I had, Lucy pulls the football, the tree eats the fucking tree, Snoopy bit me. It's like because Sport did bite me. not that long ago.
Sport used to bite me every day, at least 50 times.
Yeah, but he got me good because I was messing with him, and I will never do that again. But yeah, so it's like it's been a tough 6 months for us, and me personally. I've always had too. Real broadcasting job on the side, being a producer or director somewhere. I was at KDOC TV here in Los Angeles for close to 15 years as a real job. They sold the station July 2022. So I've not had like a real job of what's happening. So that part has been tough. And then I had to pay out of personal money some things to make some people happy and keep the thing going, and taxes and blah, 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 all this other stuff. So I do a lot of freelance work. I produce boxing, MMA, and wrestling for other people too. And that's for like Fox Deporte and Fubo Network and Fight, or now it's Triller TV by Fight. They have a new name. And I'm really excited because this is kind of the mark in me from a broadcasting perspective. I'll be directing a version of the Rose Parade on New Year's morning. So that's a really big deal. It's for Paramount streaming. So I don't know if Paramount Plus is going to carry it, but I do know that Pluto and a couple other the Viacom networks, and that's a big show, no matter, where it's going or who's doing it. So, that's pretty important to me as a broadcaster. But I'm hoping that launches some non-wrestling work for me for the years because I need it.
Well, when you need some extra plugs there, Dave, you just get a hold of the Wrestling with Rip Rogers producer, director, emeritus, 6'5" guy. Been in the wrestling business 25 years, 30 years, whatever the hell. He's above average age now.
I'm your age.
Yeah. Above average age.
Same age.
So anyway.
But yeah, guys, thanks for having me. And, we're chugging along. Looking forward to January 14th and getting everybody back together and some people in there. I have no idea what people are going to show up. I have no idea if we're going to sell any tickets. I have no idea for any of this stuff. So we're just hoping for the best.
Just let them all in free, and then charge them $20 a piece to leave.
Yeah,
that'll be fine.
But there, full bar, full restaurant menu. We shot the show for the last year and a half in the Irvine Improv Comedy Club. Beautiful location. It's just taking the TV into that, much like Louisville is just such a huge expense. The studio has everything we need. It's a TV studio, so it's all one price. And luckily, they gave me credit, so so we have months until that's due.
Well, we know about that, don't we?
Oh man.
Is there a Dollar Tree close to your studio?
Probably.
Dollar Tree every day. That's how you survive, baby.
I've been eating eggs and oatmeal for a long time right now.
How do you feel about Rip's beard?
Oh, I love it. When he put that photo up of him in that blue suit.
Oh yeah, I took that picture.
I was like, look at this son of a bitch. He's going out on a job interview.
It's for porn, The masked grandpa.
Yeah. Rip, why'd you grow your beard out?
Why'd I grow the beard out?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to. I was tired of spending money on those razor blades. That's why.
Oh man.
Don't get any better than this.
Well, Dave, I knew with the hard times that you were in and we were in, I knew if anybody could figure it out, it was you. So I never lost faith in you. I knew you'd figure it out. So
thank you.
Hell yeah.
Well, let's see what happens. We still got a few weeks to get there, and I don't know, maybe Santa Claus will show up with a big ass truck full of money. And and things will be all back to normal.
Yeah, and Rip's leg will heal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all bandages right now. It's still seeping. They said, "You ain't dead yet."
Have you still not gone back to the doctors?
No. Oh no,
He goes all the time.
No. I was released. I'm healthy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they told me it's okay. The company I work for is doctors say, "Oh no, he's fine. No, get rid of him."
You need to go talk to Gilbert and do a story. I'm telling you, if you want to talk about a Powerball winning, you have that right now.
Cut me in.
Oh, if we get Powerball, we'll be dead within a month. But what a good time we'll have!
No.
Wow.
You should have Gilbert do a story about that. I guarantee you things would be different.
I've been telling him that shit for a year. He won't do anything about it.
I'm just saying.
He's gutless.
That ain't got nothing to do with it.
He's gutless.
Hey, take it easy. I got to work overtime Saturday.
You're still going to work?
And working an extra day, working overtime.
And I only got to stand 10 hours, which I ain't supposed to stand. It's great, ain't it?
Yeah.
God bless America.
I guess.
The good thing is we've got Vaughn Lilas here. We've got Dylan Bostic here. We got Wrestling with Rip Rogers here. We got the inevitable David Marquez on here, and which he's got the open invitation. Anything he needs, anything plugged, to get on here and get that plug and shit in. And
you got it, guys.
He's over even more than Goliath and Black Gordman were at the Olympic Auditorium.
Well, don't let Jesse Hernandez hear you say that.
As Jimmy Lennon would be screaming out, "Wow!" It didn't get any better than that.
I just worked with Jimmy Lennon Jr. in boxing.
I don't want the junior guy. I want the old guy that's croaked.
I was just going to say he's kind of dead.
Yeah, he's kind of dead. Yeah, but what the hell, right? He was a presence with me growing up.
Are you going to go see the Von Erich movie?
Did I see it? No, I was mad because I didn't star in it. I thought I could have been a good Carrie. Hey, man.
Did you get to see it yet?
No, I wasn't invited to the premiere. Didn't you see me bitch about it?
Yeah, I saw you bitch about it.
I
thought it was funny that you were bitching about it. I started laughing.
Well, once I saw who the fuck was there,
yeah,
I started seeing pictures. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I've got an Emmy and I can't go to this fucking thing.
He's got an Emmy.
That's awesome.
It don't get any better than this. Well, why did you protest or anything or make note of that or shit?
But and you know, I did that just to have fun. But you know, Gilbert Corsi actually has like 100 of those things. Gilbert's the man. I'm proud to be in business with him there. He's a good guy.
Fucking Gilbert.
What did Jim tell me to tell him? Call him Dilbert.
Gilbert. Oh no.
Like the comic strip.
That's
like
awesome.
they used to call him Dilbert. But anyways, but yeah, no, it's great to talk to you guys, and I hope you guys have a good holiday. And Dylan, more than likely, I'll probably be seeing you in January once Sean rings you up. Thank God for Spirit Airlines, but but we'll get you out here. And you know, we're hoping for the best.
Yeah, I don't know why everybody always bitches about Spirit Airlines. It gets you there.
Yeah, but it's a motherfucker. It's so interesting that's the only direct flight from LA to Louisville is Spirit.
A lot of cities, the only direct flights to LA or Las Vegas are Spirit.
It's so weird. Yeah. You know, again, not being all bougie or whatever, but I got status on Delta. Let me have a little bit of fun. No, sitting on that fucking park bench.
It's fine. I'd rather have Spirit than a layover, you know.
And if you remember let's see, I've flown Spirit now 4 or 5 times. Every time I'm on that flight, someone's dying.
Oh yeah.
Every time I'm on a Spirit flight, there's something fucking
Someone's
CPR,
dying.
oxygen.
Yeah.
Like that woman fell on me, and then the flight attendant yells at me for getting up and giving her my seat because she was fucking dying on my lap.
Yeah, how dare you?
And then I'm getting yelled at.
Yeah.
Happening Comfort Plus.
Well, the lady knew that you're a misogynist. That's what it was.
Right.
Oh man.
All right. Sports looking at me to shut the fuck up. So thanks, guys.
Yep.
Have a good holiday, and thank you for the time. And I'll see you real soon. And I appreciate everything you guys have done for me during all this time.
Yep, no problem. Thank you as well. See you soon, Dave.
This is the greatest podcast
Thanks for coming on.
you was on today.
Absolutely.
All right.
Got to get our head bob in.
Okay. You got the
What's
music
the head
going?
bob mean?
Wait a minute. I got to get the music going.
All right. Thanks, everybody, sticking around for 3 hours today. We'll be back next Friday at our concrete time of noon, I think. Sure he is. Everybody is.